She's wacky, but
Yeah.
I think most of her wackiness,
Yeah.
I can go, I see why.
Yeah.
And I'm not that mad at her for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, she got attacked by a dog.
Oh my God, I know.
Like, remember, this show is so whacked out. You're like,
Yeah.
she married her grandpa. And this one secretly had an online journal where she ripped everyone apart. This one defrauded thousands of old people and is now in prison.
Yeah.
And we're all still friends with her for some reason. And
Listener discretion advised. Adult language and mature content.
welcome back, finally. I've missed everyone. I'm Jen.
I'm Keeley.
And we took a week off because I got COVID and had to be locked in my bedroom so as to not infect everyone.
Aww.
And I didn't infect anybody.
I
have
know.
2 negative COVID tests, so I'm
Yay.
out of my room for the first time.
Good job, ma'am.
Yeah, so I missed you.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to see you. We usually do a quick recap before we jump onto the podcast and start recording, and I think we just spent an hour and a half. It took us an hour and a half to catch up. I'm also just so excited to see another human being.
No.
It's like, oh, thank God, I missed you.
Mm.
We went officially viral on TikTok while I was sick. And I'm never going to get through all the comments. But in general, amazing job, Keeley.
Oh, hey, thanks. I think amazing job to the two of us.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just me.
It's your Huda hot take. It's your support of Huda that really got some people talking. So, and it was an interesting discourse. There was a lot of, I think, heavier stuff than I was prepared to talk about when going over the Love Island finale.
Right.
But I think good points. I want to just throw out there, we'll just say it very, very surfacey. Don't judge us by how we look.
Yeah.
We have some opinions that aren't based on our adorable blonde hair and blue eyes. You actually have green eyes. Keeley has the rarest of eye colors. She's got very green eyes. Did you know that when I first met you, I thought you wore contacts?
Really?
I didn't think your eye color was real.
Nice.
And I actually had to ask Steve. I was like, her eyes are so green. He's like, yeah. And I was like, is that real?
He's a faker. Thinking I'm a faker.
Well, they're very pretty. So we missed out on not recording last week means that we didn't get to talk about the Bachelor in Paradise finale.
Yes.
I was a little bit whatever about it. I don't know.
I was kind of underwhelmed / disappointed with the couples that ended up in the finale, which was Alexe and Andrew and Jess and Spencer. So I was glad Jess and Spencer were there. I think they deserved to be there. Made sense. This is Bachelor in Paradise. It's about love. It's not about friendship, people. Alexe and Andrew, that's friendship in paradise. I don't know how many times we're going to have to mention this, but yeah, they agreed to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And Jess and Spencer got engaged, which is normal for Bachelor in Paradise. So,
yeah. The part where they had to do the physical challenge. Yeah. One, do not understand the physics of that challenge. They had to hold each other's weight while leaning back, and everyone had to hold on the longest. And it was nutty to me because we had Kat and Dale, who were clearly the most in shape, and talking about, well, we're going to kill this challenge. We are the most physically fit. I do Pilates. I can do this for hours. Yeah. It seemed almost like an accident when they fell, like that, like a glitch or something.
You think?
Conspiracy theory, I think that they were just kicking him out. The fact that Alexe, who's talking about the entire time how she's not working out,
Right.
This was for the whole season of Bachelor. She's like, I'm not working out. I'm not gonna. And then she's the one that wins. Her and
Andrew.
Yeah. Not that Andrew isn't in good shape, but even Andrew's I'm not where I was in college. But in college, I was really in shape. If you're like, I was skinny in high school, then you know.
Oh fuck yeah!
But they won, and I was kind of like thrilled for Alex in that she was gonna get her hands on some money, because I know that she's like, when Andrew was like, money's not a problem for me. What is that?
Which was surprising. I was surprised that he said that, and I want to know more. I want to know why. Do you family of doctors, family of lawyers? Do you just have a huge inheritance? What's going on?
Yeah, I want to know. I'm not bad enough to Google it. But I am curious, like, what is that like to not to be like, I don't need $125,000. What is that like? Yep. There's not a lot I wouldn't do for $125,000.
Oh, fuck yes. Absolutely.
And here's my question. Bachelor in Paradise, is there usually that much trepidation about an engagement as there was for Jess?
Yes.
Like Jess, that's normal. Where they're like, I don't know if I'm going to say yes or not.
Yes, that's normal. That's part of the whole drama of the show. You're just like, oh my God, what are they going to do? Is he going to ask her?
Is he going to ask, would she even say yes?
Yes. And even with that strong couple and how much they love each other and they kept talking about moving in together and all that stuff. Yeah, there's still that drama if it were normal Bachelor in Paradise. But what I want to know is, what did you think about what Sean and Alicia did?
You look like such a piece of shit. Alicia, what? Isn't that her name, Alicia?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was spelled in an interesting way, and so I had a hard time with it. But they look like such maniacs. They look like fucking maniacs. They're like, I have the smoking gun. Look how I'm going to burn it all down. Even if they're right, you did it all wrong. Mr. Politics cannot read a room for his fucking life. I was so irritated at him because I could even be on his side if he wasn't such a pompous ass about it. If he was, and he's like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to tell everybody, ding, 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 everyone come listen. And it was his delivery. He destroyed himself with his delivery. And Alicia, why do you give a shit? Alicia, you need to not give a shit. You look like a psycho. Don't give a shit. Even if you're correct and she's doing this and it's slimy, there's a better way to do it instead of like on your fucking high horse. And again, Kat basically was like, yeah, I kind of was talking to him. Not on a computer I snuck in or an iPad I snuck in. But yeah, I was talking to him. There was gray area and this all fucking sucks. And then her freak out, also humongous. But that's what we love her for, is her humongous freakouts, where you go, I don't know if I'm on your side anymore. Oh, you won me over. It just tanked her and Dale. I think her and Dale, again, are going to be just fine. I think they were actually one of the best suited couples in the show. But I was so disappointed with how Alicia and Sean were like, we're going to sink your ship. Like, oh, sorry. How did you feel about it?
I feel the complete opposite. So
really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So if I may ask you, what if it were someone else that did it? What if it were Jeremy? What if it were Andrew that did that? Would you
if
feel
Jeremy did it, I would be even
different?
madder. I think I would be madder if Jeremy did it.
So it's not just because it's Sean.
No. I think Sean thought that he was doing something that he didn't have the finesse to do. I think that if someone came in and was like, listen, I have this information. This is how I would do it if I was Sean and I was better at politics than him. I would say, I just have some information that I don't want to have. You Bethany Frankel it. And you go, listen, I have some information. I don't want to have to be the one to say it, but I'm uncomfortable with what happened. And given the circumstances of how this show works, I think it's important that people know this to make an informed decision. Basically, I have proof that I was given. I didn't want it, but she brought an iPad. She's been talking to her ex-fiance the whole time. I think Dale needs to know. I don't know how to confront this. Rope someone else in. This is how manipulative I am. I'm like, rope someone else in and be like, I don't know what to do, guys. What do we do? Is this something important? It's weighing on my heart. And then you have that conversation. He went in with a smile and a toast. I think it's his manner of doing it that I think blew up in his face is what bothered me. It's not that it's Sean. It's Sean smiled while he did it.
Brian tried to do some sort of similar situation with Bailey. And look how he got burned to the ground because everybody was like, he's talking behind people's backs. He's just not saying it out loud. He's going, in the shadows. So that's basically what you just described is talking to someone.
Yeah.
Without talking
the messenger no matter what.
Right. So I 100% don't think that if he would have done it differently, it would have had a different outcome. And second,
that's a good point.
He talked to Kat privately before, I don't remember what episode it was, when they were sitting on the couch and he was talking to her about whether they were friends or not. That whole conversation he was trying to have, not in front of the group, talking to her, trying to get the truth from her. She lost it, had a total crash out, and then went to Dale and lied.
And said lied about what cursing her out and
he said. So he can't win for losing no matter what he does. He tried to talk to her on a different basis, on a different side note, and it didn't work. She is the problem. She's the liar. She has the problem. It has come out while we were watching the show and now, since the show is over, that Kat has been a terrible cast member on that show. She's been mean to people on that show. She's not a girl at all on this show. And Elisa is not the only one that said Kat was mean and Kat was not welcoming and Kat is not a girl's girl and Kat has lied. Elisa is not the only one that has said this. So why wouldn't Sean do this? I would do it if I were Sean. If I was on a show and a cast member was that horrible and lied to my face, lied to someone else about a conversation that I had, 100% I would do that. I would burn that person to the ground in front of everyone. 100% I would have done it.
I think it's that he looks... I think it's the intent behind it, right? I'm not saying that Kat is an angel. Kat, I said from the very beginning, I am excited to watch her crash out and have freakouts over and over again because I know that that's what it's going to be. And I never saw her on any other show. I knew exactly who she was in the beginning. I don't like her because she's a nice person. I like her because she's entertaining on TV. Like, I don't think that she's an angel in any of this. And I 100% don't think that she wasn't still talking to the other guy.
Oh, yeah. She basically admitted it afterwards. In the middle of her meltdown, she basically admitted it to Dale. And poor Dale was like, what do I even do now? 100,000 million%. If there was no money involved, Dale would have left her ass and would have dumped her. Like, totally dumped her. And if there was no money there, he stayed there for the money, not for her, because he was like, well, okay, I guess we'll figure it out. But she did not say, no, this didn't happen. She did not say, tell me where your proof is and show it to me. She did not say anything that a person who was innocent would say. She admitted to everything. She cried to try and get attention to all the girls who huddled around her and ran away. Wouldn't talk about it on camera with Dale. And then what is this note that she gives to Dale that he reads in the interviews, I don't know what those things are called, those side interviews by himself. What is that? I mean,
weird. And I also think, and apparently she's been writing the same thing to the other guy.
Yes.
So, no, I don't think that she's a good person in this. I just think that he walked in, he showed his cards. This was not, we all need to be informed about this. This was, I want to embarrass her, and I want revenge.
Yep.
And he was too upfront about that. That's what it is. I think that if he had gone in with a little bit of, like, oh no, and instead he was like, look at this piece of shit, he could be 100% right, but that's not going to work because everyone's there celebrating his love. He can't read the room. Is he wrong? No. I agree with him. But it just, he looked like such an asshole doing it, and then he's like surprised that people are like, you're an asshole. It's just how it's going to be. I will also say this show is the most accurate representation of Kill the Messenger I've ever seen.
Yes.
Because it happened to Brian.
Yep.
The fact that Brian is the only one that said anything, and he only said something to save his own skin, which did not work. Again, read the room. Everyone here knows that happened. Jeremy told too many fucking people that he called Susie, right? And they all went, no, you and Bailey are so cute. Bailey, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
After he was like, I would marry Susie right now.
Yeah.
And then he's making out with Bailey. That's fucking gross. But that group of people said, here's where our priorities lie in this. And it's you keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
And I will say, I think you and I had a conversation again afterwards about Bailey was irritated at Alex.
Yes. Because I sent you that video, right? From the reunion? Yeah.
So I guess Alex didn't tell Bailey, and Bailey said in a podcast somewhere that it was shitty of Alex to not have said something. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, something along those lines.
And here's the deal. You can't be mad posthumously?
Yeah. Oh.
After the fact? I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you use that term? Anyway, after the fact, you can't be mad at Alex if you're still with Jeremy.
Yep.
You're not mad at Jeremy.
Correct.
You can't get mad at Alex for not saying that Jeremy was being a piece of shit.
Correct.
Because then you're still with Jeremy. You would be mad at him for telling you that Jeremy was being a piece of shit. Remember Brian?
Yep.
So I think that Sean's delivery, and I think the fact that Alicia was so like, we're going to destroy her because we love each other. Like, she just had the wrong vibe for me. And don't get me wrong. If you're going to be a villain, be a full-on villain.
Mm-hmm.
And they just weren't hitting the right note to be a full-on villain or to be righteous for me. And the problem is, this isn't in a vacuum. This is on Hulu.
Yeah.
Where we are watching it.
Yep. Yeah.
And drawing our judgments. So, yeah. I don't like that Jeremy did that. I don't think it's wrong that Jeremy did that. But I just think he did it wrong. He did it with the wrong finesse. He can't read a room. Nobody there wanted to hear that.
Yeah.
You know? So, and I guess everybody's still together.
Yeah. I didn't send you the clip. I meant to, but I don't know if you saw this clip of the reunion where Jeremy admits that he would have picked the money over Bailey. And Bailey said, yeah, we just would have got back together afterwards.
That's what I said.
Yeah. You're just a piece of shit, Jeremy.
He sucks.
To admit that in front of God and everyone and the girl that you're supposedly in love with. And she's just like, oh, he's so great.
Totally understand.
Oh, I totally understand. Are you joking? Are you joking?
And
the 5 seconds that we all met Jeremy, when he came on camera, we're like, this guy's a slime ball and this guy's only in it for the money. We all knew that as viewers.
And he's not hot enough in the face to get away with that.
No.
He's not.
No.
I just, I just hate him. I just really don't care for him at all.
No.
And at some point, they're going to break up. Mm-hmm. And she's going to go, oh, what the fuck did I do?
Yep.
What the hell was I letting him get away with?
Yeah.
I can't believe I let him I was so blind. And he said that in front of the Bachelor producers.
Yep.
I hope they never let him on again just because he's been so slimy. He was so pushy and rude with the producers where he's like, let me call her right now. Which, I mean, I guess, like, made good TV, but at the same time, it also
gave you the ick, right?
Like, why are you telling them what's going to happen? Like, they have a format to the show and you're just blowing it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch any more Bachelor. Although, did you hear who's going to be the next Bachelorette?
I did. I heard that today, and I am sick.
Is that true?
It's true? It's true, and it makes me sick. And I am not going to watch it. She's a horrible person. She is. We are
talking about what's her face. You need to say the name because I can't remember her name.
Taylor. Frankie Paul.
So many first names.
Yes, from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. She is the one that basically created the group on TikTok, and then now they have their own show. And they were all swinging,
and then she cheated on her. And then, separate from this swinging, she cheated on her husband with one of the other husbands, and then called everyone out on the internet for swinging, and that's what got them a TV show.
Yes.
She is on TV because she's a fucking wreck.
Yes.
She is a hot Mama June. Like,
she's been arrested for domestic violence against
we watched it happen
her partner. No, she is not a bachelorette. She's the first female bachelorette in the history of the shows, which we've had, 30 seasons or some ridiculous number, that have not been affiliated with the Bachelor franchise, that has not been on a show, right, and been kicked off or not picked to be the next. I'm sick. I can't.
Bananas. It does not make sense.
Nope.
She is not. I feel like the and as someone who doesn't really watch, the idea is that the Bachelor is like the ideal single guy right now. Like, we're all competing for this like top tier. I don't subscribe to this idea, but high value man or high value woman. Right?
What they typically pick is, I'll give you an example, and I hope maybe that you feel the same way. Mm-hmm. Like Leah from The Bachelor in Paradise, a cast member like her that was charismatic, that was charming, that the viewers loved, that the cast members all loved, that
I love Leah.
Didn't get a chance at Love on the Show and was just completely heartwarming, and you wanted her to win. Everybody, we said this on the podcast, just give her the money. Can we just give Leah the money? Mm-hmm. She is the type of cast member that they would put in the next show.
And like Jonathan would be the Bachelor.
Correct. Those are the type of people, type of cast, type of somebody on the show that didn't get their correct due, that the viewers fell in love with, would be the next Bachelor or Bachelorette. Not Taylor, Frankie, Paul, who's gross and has a criminal history from a different TV show.
No, it doesn't. And I'm not even a Bachelor in Paradise, a Bachelor follower, right?
Yeah.
I'm new to this whole universe. Right. And she does not fit, even if you are pulling from nowhere, right?
Correct.
There are certain standards that I think that you're picking where it's like, she is a doctor. He is an ex-pro baseball player who runs this thing for inner city youth. But she doesn't fit that. She has multiple failed marriages.
Yep.
Domestic abuse.
Yep.
She's just a social media influencer.
Yep.
She went to jail. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not that interested.
No, and I hope it flops. I really hope it flops. It probably won't, but I'm not going to watch it. It's just gross. I'm super disappointed.
There are even other girls that were on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives that I would have rather seen on there.
Oh, yeah.
Not this one.
Not this one.
Speaking of shows that we may or may not be watching, I've got two I need to quickly do a quick rundown of. One is someone had posted in the comments, we need to hear you guys talk about Are You My First?
Okay.
So I have not really been able to watch TV. COVID really messed me up, and I had a hard time watching a television. It was just too much for my head. But once I started feeling better, I just recently got through basically 2 episodes, like an episode and a half, 2 episodes. And I can't do it, guys. This is Bachelor in Paradise meets Love Island, but they're all virgins. They're coupling up, right?
Okay.
They're doing all of these different things to like flirt with each other, but it's more on the Love Island side. They're not coupling up immediately, other than a couple people, because they're all exploring and finding out about each other, because hopefully they're going to lose their virginity to each other on the island.
Oh, shit. Okay.
But the problem is, a lot of these shows, I'm going to say for me, and this is my opinion, why does Love Island work? It's a bunch of drunk sluts, and that's fun to watch. These are a lot of Mormons. Oh. They're not all Mormons, but a lot of them are. A lot of them just don't drink.
Okay.
They're all virgins. It's not that exciting.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with being a virgin.
Correct.
But if you're a virgin at 32, there's some social things that you've missed that other people that you're not going to keep up with, right?
Yeah.
Not that sex is everything, but there are certain important social dynamics that you are not tuned into. And I can't exactly put my finger on it, but
I think there's a certain sense of, dare I say, maturity, I think that I feel like goes with having sex or experiencing sex, maybe. And then you get to a certain age, like you just said, 32, and you might be a little bit immature. And not
there's some social cues that they're missing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like homeschool vibes.
Oh, Lord.
And I say that as a millennial, but it's just like, it's the host of the show, the woman, I don't know what she's from. She's fine. The man was the Bachelor who was a virgin.
Oh, Colin, something with a C. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But just flat. You need somebody coming out that's got a little bit more pizzazz. Yeah. We need a Jessie. Jessie's a fantastic host. Mm-hmm. We need an Ariana. Yeah. We have Virgin Colin. I don't know if he's still a virgin, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is.
No, he came out as gay afterwards. He was a virgin because he figured out after the show he was gay.
And they're not even talking about that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There is a guy also that's like, I'm Mormon, and I'm not gay. My mom said it would be fine if I was gay, but I'm not gay. I'm just a virgin. And I was like, just take a little more time, babe.
Just take some time. Close. Right, yeah.
And you know what? Maybe he's not. Yeah. But there's an energy there that says there's something going on more than I'm waiting.
Okay, gotcha.
And we watch Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. We know that not everyone abstains from everything.
Oh my God, no.
Especially by the time you're 26. Exactly. And they're all good-looking people. It's like watching high schoolers. Ooh. Which feels like it's like a weird vibe to it. It's the same reason I'm not going to watch Euphoria. I don't want to watch high schoolers having sex. Like, correct. And if you're really into that, I think that there's something wrong with you. It's like once you are an adult, I don't think you should be titillated by high school romance. Yeah. Getcha. I feel personally. And I do judge you for that if that's something that you do. Nice. And I said what I said.
You said it with your chest, right?
I'll say it with the whole chest. Don't tell me about Twilight. I don't care that he was 100. Right. She was 16, so gross. Yeah. And then the other show that I've never watched, but I might start watching, that also has some real secret Wives of Mormon Lives. That's not too long of a title. Is the new Dancing with the Stars.
You've never watched that?
I think I actually watched a little bit in high school, possibly, with my ex-boyfriend's mom. I really loved his mom.
I really like Dancing with the Stars. I have not watched it, every year consecutively. I will watch it if there's somebody on there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to see her crash out or him not be able to dance at all. And it usually is wonderful and great, but yeah, it is good. It is worth it. If you want to watch it, you should. My vote is yes.
I think I'm going to be able to rope Matt into it. And Matt hates dancing. Hates dancing. Will not dance with me. Doesn't dance.
Okay.
But I think I can talk him into watching this because Corey Feldman's on it.
Oh, okay.
And Corey Feldman is our kind of kook.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of slow-mo, which is Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, there's the little...
slow-mo, I like that. Okay.
Yes. Whitney's on it. The blonde villain of the show. So,
do you like Whitney?
I don't like Whitney, even when she has her caring moments that are few and far between. I don't like her, but she is getting quite a bit of hate for being allowed to be on the show because she got a dancing degree from BYU. So she is a dancer. And why should she be allowed to be on the show? Is people are very upset at her because she's doing great and she picked up on it quickly. Yeah. And people are like, that's not fair.
That's have like gymnasts on there. True. And Ariana did great. And Ariana had a dancing background.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I'd rather see good dancing than like struggle.
No, I hear you, but what's the point of the show if you have a dancer and the dancer wins? The point of the show is to not have dancers and watch them either progress and win or completely flop and you make fun of them and that's so funny. That's an NFL player that can't move his hips, right? And he gets kicked off, episode 3 or something, right? That's the point of the show, not to have a dancer on the show win.
Okay. I think that if they are going to have a real dancer on, I think having Whitney is a fantastic choice because no matter how well she does, no one will ever forget her dancing over her sick child.
Right. And they have Jen from Slow Mo. Jen's on there. I think she's probably going to do really well. She doesn't have a dancing background. I think she's going to do really well because she's one of those Leah characters that people love, want to see succeed, feel genuinely for her because she's in a horrible marriage.
I was just going to say, I have not watched the latest season at all. So I don't know. Is she still with her husband?
Yeah.
The not Affleck?
Yeah. So, Jen, I think they should have just kept Jen and not put Whitney on there. But, they want ratings and they put Whitney on there.
She would be a fantastic bachelorette.
Right. Exactly.
Wonderful partner.
Yep.
She's a good mom.
Yep.
Super hot.
Yeah.
She would be a great bachelorette.
Right.
I would like Leah. I think I'm 100%. That's going to haunt me now because I'm 100% on Leah should be the next bachelorette.
Right. Ugh. Correct. I think, anyway.
So that might be my new show.
And I think this week, let's see. So today, it's Wednesday. So this coming Tuesday, I think, is Salt Lake City starts. I think.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Housewives Salt Lake City, I think, starts on Tuesday. So
that's what it is.
Monday
Everyone
or
buckle
Tuesday.
up.
Yeah.
That is my favorite franchise.
Oh, yes. Have you heard John Oliver from HBO talk about it? Do you know who John Oliver is?
No, I love John Oliver.
Yes,
but
John Oliver went on, oh God, was he, not Jimmy Kimmel, who's the other one, took over the Tonight Show. Anyway, so he went on
Jimmy Fallon?
Maybe it was Jimmy Fallon, maybe. It wasn't this week, but last week he was on, and they found out that his favorite show is Salt Lake City. Mm-hmm. And it is the funniest clip. You should go on YouTube and just watch it. He talks for probably 10 minutes about Salt Lake City Real Housewives, and his favorite is Mary Cosby. And
Mary Cosby.
Because she married her step-grandfather, and he went into this whole thing. He was like, it's bananas. It's my favorite show. You have to watch it. And to hear John Oliver talk about Salt Lake City is so great and entertaining. You're just like, this is the perfect show. Of course it is.
The layers of this show are so wild. And then I also forgot, something happened, and they were talking about how the new season's coming out, and then they were interviewing Monica. And I was like, I forgot about Monica.
Right.
And that was huge.
Right.
I am very excited about that coming back.
Yeah.
I love Mary Cosby. I hated Mary Cosby.
Me
and then
too.
She has won me over.
Yep.
But it's one of those situations where, like, I'm going to accept you as you are. Like, you are a monster.
Yes.
You're a monster, and I will love you for who you are.
Yeah.
And also, there's some wonderful sides of Mary Cosby.
Yes.
Do I think she's running a cult? Kind of.
Yes.
Do I think she's a good mom? Also, yes.
Yes. 100%.
Do I think she's a good wife? On paper.
Yeah. Is she a good friend? Absolutely. If she finds that person in the friend group and she attaches herself to that person, she is a wonderful friend. Wonderful friend. But if you
I think she's a terrible enemy, though.
Oh, I was going to say on her S list, forget it. You're dead. You look
But
inbred.
you're loved by her, or she is going to call you inbred to your face.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But what I think there's got to also be, if there was ever an opportunity to be, this is like my, what do they call it? My fan fiction. If I ever had the opportunity to become friends with Mary Cosby, I think that, God, what an achievement that would be.
Sure.
Like, I went over Mary fucking Cosby. She likes me.
Right.
I have sat in those weird ass chairs and had tea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I honestly think that my favorite, I can't remember anyone's names right now because of COVID brain.
Lisa, Meredith, Heather, Whitney.
Heather.
Okay.
I love Heather.
Yes. Yep.
Heather, I see all her flaws, but I think that she's trying, and I think she has such a good heart. I think Heather has a really good heart.
Would make a good bachelorette, I think.
Heather would make an amazing bachelorette.
Yes.
I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then who's the other one with the short hair?
Whitney.
That has all the fashion.
Oh,
and the old
that just
old
came
husband.
on. Oh my God.
Yeah. Bronwyn,
yes.
I fucking love Bronwyn.
Yeah.
I
love to hate her. Like Mary, I used to.
She's wacky, but I think most of her wackiness.
Yeah.
I can go, I see why.
Yeah.
And I'm not that mad at her for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, she got attacked by a dog.
Oh my God, I know.
Like, remember, this show is so whacked out. You're like, she married her grandpa. And this one secretly had an online journal where she ripped everyone apart. This one defrauded thousands of old people and is now in prison.
Yeah.
And we're all still friends with her for some reason. And
yes.
And this one got attacked by a dog. And
yes.
Like, what? And there's just so shit in her house.
Yes.
I think that's what, like, when Heather, because I desperately wish she and Heather were friends.
I know.
But when they got into the fight and she didn't get to go to the anniversary trip, and Heather's like, there's dog shit all over that house.
Yes.
I want to hear Heather say it. And I want to see the realness that is Bronwyn. Oh, because I bet there is a lot of boxers are not easy dogs. Oh, and she's got a zillion of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
so great.
Okay, so that'll be the show. We've just recapped everything you need to know about the show. Yes. Although the other two best characters, Meredith Marks, and
Lisa.
God damn it,
Lisa Barlow.
Lisa Barlow. I could watch Lisa Barlow do anything.
Oh God, yeah.
She has so much confidence.
Oh,
I love her
unsubstantiated
Christmas music. Yes. Her singing Christmas music, that could make me believe in God. And I had seen a meme go around and they were like, has anyone been to a restaurant where they have seen Vita tequila for sale?
I know.
Has anyone been to a liquor store where they have seen Vita tequila for sale?
Yes. No. The answer is no.
No, right. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Do you have to buy it directly from their website?
I don't know. I don't know. I love it though. But I heard anytime that they were at a restaurant or at an event, the rumor is she had to pay that restaurant or a venue to get her tequila there.
That's incredible.
I know.
Yeah, yes. It's a very good show. And now that we've gotten all of our reality TV out of our system, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
I was like, we barely have anything to talk about.
I know. What happened? 45 minutes in.
45 minutes later.
Whoops.
But now it's time for True Crime Story Time with
True Crime Story Time. Whispers in the dark, truth leaves a mark. True Crime Story Time.
Keeley.
Yes. I do have to say, before we get started, the show we're going to talk about has quite a bit of trigger warnings. So there's quite a lot to the story, and we need to tell the story accurately and fully. So just know that there are very uncomfortable facts, events, and situations that go on in this story, and it might be triggering to some people. So you might want to fast forward or maybe not even listen. Yes.
A lot.
I did ugly cry a lot. It was very difficult and a lot to take in. So we watched on HBO a documentary called The Cheshire Murders. And this was from a while ago. This was released on HBO a while ago. So this kind of is an oldie. And I had never seen it before or heard about this story before, but it's not a series. It's just a 2-hour-ish documentary. So they open up like all documentaries open up. And I just want to say before I start that you have said when we're talking true crime story time that these documentarians like to lead the viewers down one way or another way, meaning they want you to feel sorry for the offenders, or they want you to really get to understand the victim and the victim's family. My take, and I want to see if this is your take, is they wanted the viewers to feel sorry for the offenders watching this show.
I think we need to talk about it at the end because you need this story.
Oh, you do. I'm not saying that you don't.
Correct. Well, I think I'm saying like you need all the story to like understand the full case that they're laying out. But as horrific as this specific set of murders are, I think that was not actually their intention.
Okay.
That's not what they wanted. That's not actually the focus. But I think that the point for this is such an open and shut case.
Yeah.
Of these two guys who frankly are monsters.
Yes, we know who did it, right? This is not a question of who
you are.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is simply a case of these men are monsters. I wanna talk at the end kind of about where I ended up and see where you ended up.
Okay.
Because I will say that this documentary genuinely changed my perspective on how I feel about things.
Okay.
Like in a really serious way.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. Yeah, so this, like I said, it's called The Cheshire Murders, and it takes place in a little town called Cheshire, Connecticut. And they described this town as like a bedroom neighborhood, or I can't remember the word they used, but I had to Google it. I didn't understand what that term meant. And it's just what it means is a city or a neighborhood or a suburb where people just live and they just sleep because they drive to another big city and they work, right? Mm-hmm. In Hartford, Connecticut, or I can't think of the other big cities in Connecticut, they would drive. But this Cheshire neighborhood, this city, is one of the ones where you just stay there. You're not really, it's not a big city or like metropolis or something like that is how they described it. So they open the documentary with, like they usually do with these 911 calls, where we hear it's, completely, or this rainstorm outside, that's raining so hard, but we hear this 911 call coming from a bank that says they have this woman at the bank and she's at a teller and she's at the counter and she says that her husband and her 2 daughters are being held captive in her home and she has to withdraw $15,000 in cash to give to these kidnappers so they don't murder her family. And then we get to see still black and white photographs of this beautiful blonde woman standing at the bank teller's counter of these shots of her trying to withdraw this money. And she obviously looks upper class. She's middle-aged and she's very well put together. This beautiful blonde, slender, tall woman. So we get to see these pictures of inside the bank. And then the bank teller says, I am in my office. She slid the teller a note that said all of this and to call the police. So I'm in my office with the lights turned off and I'm watching her. And they're saying, okay, is she still in the bank? Yes, she is. Tell me when she leaves. And so she's watching, the bank manager is watching when she's on 911 dispatch. And she says, okay, she's leaving. She told my teller that, I'm trying to find and watch her what car she gets into. And they describe the person in the car as a man with a black hoodie on and a baseball cap, up over his head. The hoodie's up over his head and the baseball cap's on top. And she says, yep, she's getting out of the bank, getting into the car, and they're driving away right now. And this is her name. Her name is Jennifer Petit. And you need to go to her home and help her. This is what she's telling us. And it was a very intense dispatch 911 call, and you're thinking, oh my God, what is going on? Right. And I just want to point out that they say it's Monday, July 23rd, 2007, and it is 9:21 a.m. when the bank teller or the bank manager is calling 911. And I want everybody while you're listening, to remember the time that I tell you. 9:21 a.m. is when this happened, because the timeline of the story is so important to understand this entire documentary, and it really comes into play. So it's 9:21 when she's making the first phone call to 911. And then they cut to, you see the scene. They're at the scene, which is her home, and there's police cars, there's 2 fire trucks, and there's crime scene taped around her home. And you see that the home has been on fire. The home has been burning. And you see a police car that's smashed. You see another personal car, like a Subaru kind of a car that has been in a crash. And they're kind of rear-ended. They're rear together, but they're along the same side of the street in front of the house. And then there's a picture of a man outside the car on the ground where they look like they're apprehending one of the suspects. That's what we see in these still photographs of the scene. And they give us the time, which is 10:30-ish. An hour later, we get to see all of this. So we're thinking, okay, right, they have gone to her home. They've got the kidnappers. They've got the family, and right, everything is okay. That is so far from anything possible that could have happened. So then we see somebody, I think from the police department, being interviewed by news media saying there are fatalities inside the house, and there's 3 fatalities and 1 person that has survived. And you're thinking, oh my God, these people are now dead. She was just at the bank an hour ago, and now she's dead. So he's confirming there are 3 females that are are fatalities inside the home and one person who's survived, which is a male. Mm-hmm. And it is so difficult all of a sudden. We're 2 minutes into this show and you're having a hard time believing what has happened in this hour and not quite sure what's going on. So the officer says, right, the survivor was a male. He says, one of the suspects came out of the house, got in the car and tried to drive away. And they stopped that suspect. Another male came out of the house, and they immediately arrested him. And they're telling the TV reporters that it's a home invasion that has gone terribly wrong. And you're thinking, oh my God, well, you're just so confused, trying to understand what has happened between the time that she was at the bank and the time that the house is set on fire, and now she is dead, along with her 2 children inside the home. And so then we get to see a picture of the 2 suspects. There's a 26-year-old and a 44-year-old. So the 26-year-old's name is Joshua Karmasarjevsky. He's young, he's tall, he's skinny. You can tell he's probably had a history with drugs, his mugshot. And then we see the 44-year-old named Stephen Hayes. He's older, obviously. He's got a shaved head. He's a little bit chubbier. He just kind of looks like the devil to me, his picture. He's just kind of scary looking.
He's definitely just lived a rough life.
Yeah. Right. We get to see a picture of the mother, Jennifer, like I described earlier. She's, middle-aged. She's tall and thin. And the husband is named William. And there's an older daughter named Haley and a younger daughter. So Haley's 18, I think, years old, because they described that she just got accepted to Dartmouth College. So she's 18. Yeah. Then we have a younger daughter who's blonde, who's 11, and her name is Michaela. And so we get to see their beautiful family pictures. And again, they look like an affluent family, right? They are definitely upper to middle class. They live in these beautiful homes, these beautiful big mansions, right? They drive down this neighborhood and you see these homes and these lovely manicured lawns.
It looked
huge.
It looked just picturesque.
Yeah.
Just exactly what, if you're thinking the home that I want for my family, they're all in Connecticut, in the woods. Everyone's got these gorgeous lawns, lots of flowers. The town looks like...
Yeah.
It looks like something out of a Hallmark movie. It's really pretty, very quaint.
Yes. Yes. It seems like everyone knows everyone. Not that it's a small town where there's, 100 people in it, but it's just so picturesque, like Norman Rockwell, that everybody would know what's going on, right? They show a 4th of July parade. They show the kids walking to school or on the bus to going to school and the parents walking the kids to school. And you're kind of unsure as to how this kind of crime could have happened in this kind of bedroom community, is what they called it, like I was describing earlier, with all these more affluent type of people. They tell us that Jennifer, her death was asphyxiation by strangulation. And then Haley and Michaela, the 2 daughters, died from smoke inhalation because of the fire. We have this documentary. I've never seen so many crime photos in a documentary before in my life that are so disturbing. They don't show the bodies, right? Obviously, but they show the house was burned, the fire. They have pictures of the house on fire, which we'll get into later. How do you have a picture of the house on fire if the police have arrived after the fact? Anyway, so we see still photos of the house engulfed in flames, and it looks like to be the back of the home in the backyard near, and we see inside the home, the completely downstairs is engulfed in flames, right? The stairwell is engulfed in flames. And then we see inside the girls' bedrooms, their beds have been set on fire, which you're thinking to yourself as a viewer, oh my God, what is happening? And then you see pictures of pieces of rope that they had tied the girls to the bed, burned, and some of the rope have had blood on them in these pictures inside the home. And you're just getting sicker and sicker while you're watching these pictures go by. And so then we meet Jennifer's sister, Cynthia, who then tells us that she comes to learn about the murder from William, Dr. Petit. His sister calls her and says, you know, something has happened. And Cynthia then tells us the story she's told is 2 men go into the Petit's home at 3 a.m. and they immediately beat Dr. Petit, the husband, with a baseball bat to the head. They beat him so badly that his head is split apart. He's got 6 or 8 giant holes in his head, and the front of his head, his forehead, is split apart. We get to see pictures of him in the hospital afterwards, and he has these giant gaping holes in the back of his head, and the front of his head has been sewn together. Like, from his eyebrow,
all the way
to his hairline. And then Cynthia tells us that these 2 men proceeded to do terrible things to the 2 daughters and to Jennifer and tied them to their beds. And so then at 9 a.m., so they enter the home around 3 a.m., they wait all the way till 9 a.m., they take Jennifer to the bank to make her withdraw this money. And then they set the house on fire to try and cover up what they did inside the house, apparently. And now that the police have these 2 men in custody. And she says, why do I care? Why do I care that these men are in custody, not my family's dead? You know, which is a really, if you think about that, you're like, oh my God, of course. Why would you care now? So then we meet, you know, Jennifer's and her parents. He's a reverend in the Methodist church, right? He's a minister, and the mother. And these people are so articulate and so gracious and so beautifully well-spoken. I would be a complete wreck. You know, I don't know how they talk so beautifully about all of this horrible crime that they've gone through, and still are so eloquent. And I don't understand. But, you know, so they are telling us that the police aren't telling them anything about what happened. Usually you see in these documentaries, or you watch even on Dateline, that the police immediately call the victim's family in that has survived and said, this is what happened. This is what we know. And they do these face-to-face, or they go to your home and they interview and they speak to you in your home and tell you. These people have to this day never had the police talk to them face-to-face. And you're thinking, why? What is going on? Why
don't they have
police
any of the answers that they're looking for? The sister said that she kind of considers herself like a detective. And she said in general, she always wants to know all the details so she can have a full understanding of things, and getting any of the details was basically impossible. So it kind of felt like it's just something that's been haunting her. Yeah.
So, you know, we find out that through the parents, he talks a lot about, you know, Dr. Petit is a committed medical doctor. He's really great at his job. He's, and again, in these stories, a lot of times the family that's the victim, right? The husband and wife aren't together, or one of them had to do something with the other one's murder, and they don't love each other anymore, or they're not in a relationship anymore. And this is not.
No. And I kept expecting it to be.
Yep.
I mean, his wife and daughters are dead, but he's survived.
He's alive. Right.
Miraculously.
Yep.
Right. I immediately was like, oh, what are we thinking? And then his in-laws are starting to talk about him. Like, what do they think about him?
Yeah.
They love him.
Yes.
They are there for him. He's racked with guilt that he's survived this. And they, he wishes that he, instead of surviving, he wishes he had died. And they're like, no, why would we want that? That's not what anyone wants. Like, it's a miracle that you're alive, and we're grateful for that. Yep. There is nothing but love and care, thoughtfulness and integrity from this family. Yep. This is one of those things where you just keep waiting to hear
something is wrong with this family.
Something's wrong with this family. There's something sordid going on somewhere. Mm-hmm. There's some reason that this family, behind it, that there's reason that danger would be lurking there because they were involved in something, or the wife did something, or the husband did something. Yep. And this is, I think that is why this is so compelling, is this is one of those freak, horrific, violent things that happens. What I think is so disturbing is that it's so clear who the monster is. There's no winding road of how did we get here. Yeah. It's just that it happened all at once in horrific acts of violence and cruelty and terror. I feel like you watch these and you're so used to the twist, and there's no twist in this one.
No, this family was completely random, literally random, because then the next thing you hear is like a radio type show or podcast where the radio announcer is describing a little bit more of how things played out. So he says the mother and the youngest daughter were at a grocery store they call a Stop and Shop on the East Coast. At a grocery store, which they show still black and white surveillance photos of the mother of Jennifer and Michaela shopping throughout this store, just walking throughout the store. And then they tell you that Joshua, the 26-year-old, Karamazarjevsky, saw them at the grocery store and decided to follow them home. That is how all of this started. He didn't know them. He hadn't watched them before, hadn't done anything with this family. He decided to follow them home. That's how this entire thing played out. And that's why it is so disturbing and so scary, because there's no connection between these two families, between the perpetrators and the victims. Nothing. So they say, the radio broadcast says Joshua sees them at the store, decides to follow them home, and we then hear reports that the police were there early enough that they could hear one of the daughters screaming from inside the home. And your brain, at least mine, as a human being, is so hard to process what they're telling you throughout these 2 hours that you're thinking, how in the hell, as a police officer, you are hearing a child scream and you're not doing anything about it. You're not going in that home. You're not breaking the door down. You're not breaking through a window to stop it. So then you start to hear different people's view in the town of, the Joshua and Stephen are monsters, and they should, if I had a gun, I'd probably shoot them right there in front of people. How can you do this to this family? Every single person in this town is just incensed and horrified, which they should be.
This is the kind of town that Jennifer, they are explaining in some ways that you could see through the windows. They could, the police officers could have looked in the windows. Jennifer didn't have blinds or curtains on her windows. The amount of security and safety that you need to feel in a neighborhood where you don't have blinds. And they showed her in her living room. There was nothing. That it was just, they have a gorgeous view of all of these incredible trees in Connecticut. And that's what their windows are for. They don't have them covered. And again, literally, this was a random act of violence. It could have happened to anyone in that neighborhood, anyone in that town. They were all shaken. That whole entire community was completely shaken by this.
Yeah. The community said that they called it the Cheshire 911 because everyone, it was one way before this murder, and the town is a completely different way after this murder. People are installing security systems and panic buttons and panic rooms where they had no cause to do that before. They show 5 days after the murders, which is incredible to me. The funeral, and Dr. Petit is there, and he's, got a black eye underneath where the front of his head was split open with the staples. And this man is standing up front conducting this funeral. And I think that's when I start sobbing, is seeing this man with these pictures of his 3 beautiful women in his life behind him, talking about them 5 days later. The amount of courage.
Incredible. And again, you were talking about how just articulate and eloquent these people are. Super well educated. He is telling a story about how he had met his wife. And it was actually this very sweet, self-deprecating story because he was a 3rd-year medical resident or student, and then he met his future wife, and he was instructing her on how to take blood pressure. But she was a nurse, and she knew far more about how to do all of this than he did. And I think she kind of put him in his place in a kind way. And I mean, just the goodness that's seeping out of the whole moment. And it's heartbreaking.
To be able to do that 5 days later, I wouldn't be able to move. I wouldn't be able to come out of my home. I wouldn't be able to come out of my bed. Like, I don't know how the man is incredible, has this will to get up every day.
Felt like it made me, the first time I watched it, it made me suspicious of him.
Oh, okay. Sure,
because
I got that.
So eloquent. And I was like, he had something to do with it.
Yeah.
That's genuinely what I thought.
Yeah. And they show a couple, and you hear a couple audios of other radio newscasters saying, the police are looking into the dad. Did the dad have anything to do with this? Was the dad connected in any way? And they all come back saying, nope, he had nothing to do with it. They finally come out and say, he had no clue. But you do have that weird sinking because we're so jaded from these stories. Almost every single story, someone in that family had something to do with the other people being dead. And that is not this story at all. But we hear Cynthia's Jennifer's sister. We hear her say that Dr. Petit told them, I didn't smell any smoke in the house. I had no idea the house was on fire. And the only time I heard the girls is when I heard Jennifer say very politely and kindly to the 2 men that were holding us hostage, may I please take my purse to the bank because they're going to think something is suspicious if I don't have my purse with me. She's pleading with these kidnappers, please may I go get my purse before we leave, please. That's what Dr. Petit heard. That's what he saw. That is the only time he said he heard or saw anything. He ended up, we are told that he is in the basement during all of this going on. And he was asleep on the couch when the men entered the home at 3 a.m. And like I said, they immediately went downstairs because they knew there was a man in the house to kill him, to take him out the first thing. So they see a baseball bat They pick it up and they just start hitting him in the head while he's asleep. So he is downstairs. They have now tied him to some sort of, what do you call that in your basement? Some like foundation.
It was just like a support pole.
Yeah,
like some sort of column.
Yep. They have tied him. Yes. Bleeding. His head is bashed in. They have tied him now to this foundation support pole in the basement. So his wrists are tied. His ankles are tied. The man can't get up and leave. He can't do anything. And that's why he says, that's all that I heard. I didn't hear anything else. So then Cynthia tells us that Dr. Petit tells her that the police didn't help him get out of the house. He got out of the house on his own, and he got out. He went up the stairs, up the basement stairs to the outside of the home, which kind of has like a 2-door or window kind of cellar. I don't know how to describe it.
It's just like out the back steps from the basement. Yeah.
Yeah. So his ankles are still tied. And he hops up the stairs, which maybe 5 or 6 stairs to get out of your house. He's hopping across the lawn, screaming at his neighbors to help him. And the police are there watching, not helping him. He says, Dr. Petit says, I saw the police hiding behind trees. I saw them when I came out of the house. They didn't help me. They didn't help this man. So he's hopping. He's still tied at the ankles. He's hopping across his lawn. And then all of a sudden, the house is engulfed in flames. Now the house is on fire, which it wasn't before. So Cynthia and her parents are saying, why? Why did they, once they saw him come out of the house, why did they go in the house? Why didn't they have some sort of air horn saying, we have you surrounded. You're not going to get out alive. You know, this is what you need to do. You need to come out. The police did none of that. They don't know why they didn't enter that home even when he came out. To this day.
I think, and the most unkind thing that family says, they're just questioning. They're like, we just want to know. We just have a question. They're not saying it out of anger or anything else. The only time, and I think it might actually be William Petit's sister that says it, but she says it was like they cared more about catching the bad guy than helping the victims. And that's the closest thing to like a scathing remark that we get.
Oh my God.
To this day, William Petit is supportive of the police in general. He has not. I think there was not enough in this documentary about the procedures that those police officers took, the choices that were made by whoever was in charge of that operation. I wish there was a lot more. I don't know how you feel, but...
No, I agree. And when they, later in the show, when they do interview the Connecticut State police officer, I completely disagree with everything he said about them not taking down timelines, them not taking down the manner and murder.
I literally wrote a note to ask you about this.
No, that's not real.
We don't take timelines.
No,
we don't.
They 100%
we don't ever
take
say
timelines.
anything about what's happened to anyone ever.
No. All of that is untruths.
I was like, that's the opposite of every documentary I've ever watched.
And then you're thinking to yourself, they're totally covering something up. They're covering up what's going on. Something has happened because, like you said, Dr. Petit comes out and sees the police outside and they're not helping at all. So you're thinking, okay, the police have been there for a while. But then they go over the defense because the prosecutors have come out that they're going to seek the death penalty against the two, against Hayes and Komisarjevsky. And they've charged both these men with 6 counts of capital felony murder, and they're going to seek the death penalty. Mm-hmm. So then we see, the defense lawyers that each of them have hired, and they're two totally different types of people. Like Stephen Hayes, who's the older gentleman, his defense attorney, I wrote down, I didn't get the sense that the man is a liar or a schemer or a slimy attorney, but he's very intelligent. That's because you can kind of tell.
I wrote neckbeard.
Yes, neckbeard is a good one.
He super smart.
Oh,
I mean, you work in the courts.
Yeah.
If we're generalizing a defense attorney, usually it's like slimy.
Sure.
Bleh, gross. Like you're not a fan. Here's the problem with that. They need to exist. We need to have defense attorneys.
Of course.
So it's not really fair. But also, are there some people that maybe go into that vocation because they happen to be willing to be Saul Goodman? Sure.
Correct.
Like you're saying, I didn't get the sense of that. He seems like a super smart guy.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know the process for this, but it basically sounds like Stephen Hayes was not a well-to-do guy. It's not like he's shopping around. I think it sounds like Thomas Ullman was basically handed this case. Like, this is yours.
Yes.
Whether you want it or not. And he said that he was like driving and went, I bet I'm going to get this. And then got the call and was like, ugh.
Yep. That's kind of how it works in my experience with my courthouse, that I could probably name, when I won't, 5 attorneys that would get a phone call from someone saying, this is now yours, because that's how good they are. But I also wanted to say, when we're talking about, characterizing or putting in a bubble all defense attorneys, the defense attorney from the podcast we talked about, for the true crime we talked about, the Safari murder, that guy was a liar and was slimy and manipulative and just gross.
Well, what about? He was kind of a Sean. Yeah.
Yes. These 2 gentlemen are not like that. At least my initial read on them. And of course they're going to defend their client. Of course they're going to say, well, this happened because of this, right? Which is their job. Their job is to mitigate the factors, which means say, right, he had a horrible childhood, that's why he raped her, or he was raped as a kid, that's why he now rapes other people. That's their job, to say these things. But the defense attorney in the Safari murder twisted facts and lied, and that's not what these gentlemen are doing.
I think I'll say integrity. I think they did their job that they were supposed to do. Yeah. But they didn't do it in a way that made you feel uncomfortable. Right.
And Thomas Ullman, who's Stephen Hayes' attorney, he describes Stephen as suicidal and depressed and not knowing what's, going to happen. And he really uses that angle the entire time about Stephen. He's suicidal and he's depressed and doesn't want to be on this earth anymore. And, that's what he reaches and grabs onto for Stephen Hayes's kind of defense and his background, right? So his background is burglaries, mostly cars during the daytime, right? He said he would watch people go to a park their car, get out of their car and walk on a trail. Then he would rob the car, right? Steal their phone or their laptop. This is the kind of criminal history that Hayes had. And so Ullman's defense was, you would look at that and go, why would this guy now murder? Why would he murder? Because all he's doing is jockey boxing, right? These cars. I wrote down, I disagree, because defendants, their behavior escalates. Their behavior escalates because they're bored of the crimes they keep committing, and they want that thrill of doing something different. So if he has 18 burglaries, yes, that is a factor you should look at to go, this guy's going to do something different now. He's going to do something worse. So I disagreed with that statement that he said. From what I do and the people that I watch as a living, right? 24 hours a day. And then we see that Stephen has an adult daughter named Alicia, and she talks about her relationship with her dad, which is kind of non-existent, really. But, you know, she says she was at the police academy and came back and found out about the murders and what he had done. She does not look old enough to be in the police academy. I thought she was like 12. But
she's got a very young look to her.
Yeah. But then we see Karma Sarjevsky, Joshua's side, the 26-year-old, and his family. He was adopted into this family. Mm-hmm. And this family is like Russian, I don't know, patriarchy. I don't know even what you would call this family.
Russian, like, art,
yes,
elite, famous playwrights, famous actresses.
Yes.
He had described, I mean, again, these are just the most eloquent people. He's like, he grew up in a house of arts and letters.
Right.
That's fucking poetic. Very proud of their heritage and who they are in the community. And their house was super cool.
Yeah.
Like, just,
oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, the architecture was incredible. I mean, everything was so thoughtful and so interesting.
Yeah. That was his aunt and uncle speaking, because Joshua's adopted father refused to talk to the media and just posted finally a note saying, you know, that their deepest sympathy goes out to the Petit family. They could not understand why something like this would happen, and there's nothing else to say. That's literally all that Joshua's adopted father or family said. And so any other time that you see his family, it's his aunt and uncle talking. And so you're thinking, how in the hell did we go from a family of arts and letters to murdering people? But then you meet a treatment counselor for both of the men, right? Named Michael. And he said, I have no idea. I don't understand how this could have happened. I literally was the last person to talk to Joshua. And Joshua wanted to paint a different picture of himself for society. He was trying to get an architecture degree. And they showed pictures of Joshua's drawings, which were stunning. The man's signature was stunning. It was beautiful. Just writing his name.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Joshua that this therapist knows.
Yes.
Seems like a really creative, troubled, but just kind, interesting, hyper intelligent, genius level. Somebody called him like a genius.
Yeah.
Just so interesting. But we know what he's done. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. This therapist, much like defense lawyers, I think we need these people to exist in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Who he was helping, I think, working at like a halfway house program, which is where Joshua and Stephen met. And he was there to support them in finding sobriety and to get their lives together after being on probation. And he has such difficulty seeing what these men have done.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I think you and I both, and I think a lot of people who are listening to this, have experienced people who are addicts and who have run into a lot of difficulties in the criminal justice system. And there are two sides that I always struggle with in that, and that is, I want you to get better. I want you to get the help that you need.
Yeah.
I want these things for you. And then there is the other side of this where you go, why are we fucking bothering?
Right.
Why are we doing this again and again and again? And which one is right? The one where you get proven right because they do something dumb and horrific? Mm-hmm. Or is it better to go, this is a human being and there's goodness there somewhere and hopefully this can get figured out? And I think that is, for me, the center of this whole documentary, this whole situation, because that's my biggest struggle at the end of it. Because this guy, this therapist who's like, even to this day, he knows what these men have done. And he's like, I know him and he's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But how can I get up and say, this man is incredible, but also he did this?
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm glad that you said that, because I was going to mention that point. He has this morality, like, trigger saying, how do I get in front of a jury and say how much of a good person he was, knowing, how do I say that? Do I say that? What do I do? And he struggles with that, and that is incredible. I never thought about it like that, I guess. I've never thought about it like that it must be hard for them to get up in front of these juries during these trials and say what a great person and all the strides he's been doing to improve his life and how he is with him in person and what he knows about him, which is not what he did. Yeah. It's an interesting dichotomy that he has to try and figure out.
Well, and I think it's similar to, what you and I have gone through, where you're like, I want the good side of you to be the one that prevails in this.
Yeah.
But we keep seeing the bad choices and the horrors come out of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we see Joshua's attorney, who's named William Garris, and he reminded me kind of like a mob boss. He had, salt and pepper hair. He had a little bit of a New York Queens kind of an accent. And not that he's bad, but he was very intelligent. He was sticking to the facts. He was like, Joshua's a monster. I told the judge, you need to lock him up, because if he gets out, he is not going to do well. He's not going to be well. And what defense attorney says that about their clients? Not a lot, people. Not a lot. But he gives us a background of, like I said, Joshua was adopted. And we're shown these beautiful family photos of him. And then we see this criminal history of these 18 burglaries. And he would go into people's homes in the middle of the night with night vision goggles and latex gloves. And he would commit these, steal whatever he's going to steal, jewelry or money or whatever. And then he said he would stay there and he would go from room to room and listen and watch as these people slept. That is a different type of sociopath.
Because he wanted to hear them breathing. It's fucking...
Why? We don't know why, but he knew that about his client. He told us those things. He would steal from state troopers.
Purposefully. I'm going to go follow him home and steal his shit.
Yep. And when you said earlier that they called him a genius, his attorney said he could tell you a year ago or 3 years ago, the burglar that he did at this house, he knew what pair of pants this denomination of this bill came out of, whose pants it was, what part of the room it was, what room it was inside the house, and where he took the pants and what dumpster he plopped it in. Normal people don't have that kind of memory. But Joshua had this kind of genius memory that he could tell you what he did however many years ago inside this home, right? And who was there and how long he was there and what he stole. And so we go and it says, he tells us in 2002 that Joshua was sentenced to 9 years in prison for these burglaries. And they explain that each burglary could potentially have a life sentence. And so to this day, he still could have been in prison and never have committed these burglaries if he wouldn't have been paroled. But he was paroled in 2007. And that is not 9 years from 2002, people. Not 9 years. And then they go over the Pardon and Parole Board, all of this fuck up basically that happened with these men, that one of the parole board spokesperson says there was no red flags here, people. He's on a news television doing this TV conference saying there's no red flags. I don't know what you're talking about. These men had jobs. These men passed all their drug tests. These men were functioning in society. So why would we think that there are red flags? Are you kidding, sir? Are you kidding? Then we're told that when they go up for parole, that as a part of the policy and how this whole thing works is that the parole board is supposed to have these transcripts from the sentencing to be able to read through before they decide about paroling these people. Because in the sentencings, you get to really know about the person's background, their history, any sort of doctor's exams or psychiatry that they've gone through. Mm-hmm. And this was never done for these men. These sentencing transcripts were never sent to the parole board. And they show us little snippets of these sentencings saying Joshua is mentally abnormal and, right, he is a danger to society. And all of these red flags that should have gone off for the parole board going, yeah, this guy is going to do something bad. We can't let him out, and deny his parole. But he never got this paperwork that he was supposed to get. And that is another failure to this victim, to these families. It's another failure from the justice system, which what I'm a part of is that happened and why these men are out. I also wrote down from the part of the Department of Corrections, what they see in Joshua and Stephen are white, bright, intelligent, remorseful, never identified as a person with mental health, and not manipulative. That's what they see standing in front of them. So they're like, okay, green stamp, bye, you're paroled, which is definitely not what these two men were. So after they're paroled, like I said, we get this huge reaction. We go back to the community. Everybody, like I said before, everybody in town is like, they should be, the death penalty should be imposed. I'll shoot him myself if I see him. Mm-hmm. Everybody was outraged. Anybody that they talked to was like, these men are sick animal monsters. We don't know how this could have happened here. And this is where we meet the lieutenant from the Connecticut police. This is the part where he's kind of rifling through documents, and he's like, you said, we don't write down timelines. We don't write down manner of death. We don't write down all of these things, which I know to be untrue. 100% they write that stuff down. They have to, as a part of their job. They have to write this stuff down. Not just for record keeping. It's because they go to court. They go to trial, and the attorney says, what time did you show up? What time did you see the suspects leave? What time did the house start on fire? What time did you see Dr. Petit hop out of the house? They ask them all of this stuff. All of this stuff is relevant for the jury to make a decision on who they believe and who they don't. Do they believe the police officer, which a lot of juries don't? Or do they believe the perpetrator, which a lot of juries sometimes believe? And if the officer has no idea what he's talking about, has not read his police report, has not written the correct police report, you're toast. You're sunk.
Well, the thing that was even worse about this is in his tone, in his reaction to everyone saying, we want information about this.
Yeah.
When these things happen, yes, the media is like, give us all the details.
We're going to write a story.
And he's like, it's gross that you guys are asking.
Yeah.
Which, what happened from that is that, like you and I, our first thought was, is the husband involved in this?
Yep.
So then you have William Petit, who, sorry, William, that's what I thought for a second. The whole state is like, oh my God, what happened? We don't have any information. Did the husband have something to do with that? So he's dealing with all this, and now people are going, was it you? Did you do it?
Right.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
It's awful that the police would refuse to answer anything And it is not unheard of to come out and say things.
Yeah.
And say, like, okay, here's some of the information.
Right.
They went out of the way to hold as much information as they can,
yeah.
and everyone is terrified.
Yep.
And
in the same time, which I don't know that I've ever seen on a Dateline or a Forensic File or any of these true documentaries, at the same time, all of this is happening or not happening, right? The information is being withheld. The mayor is going on TV saying the police have done a bang up job. If they wouldn't have been there, there would have been more fatalities. This would have been worse.
This could have been worse. I was like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? And they show her sister's reaction to hearing that. And it was like a slap in the face to the survivors' families.
What worse could it have been? What are you talking about? And everybody is backing everybody else up. The mayor is backing up some person called a town manager, which I think maybe is city council. I'm not quite sure.
He's the one that was like, it could have been worse. They did such a great job.
Yeah.
He went on, like, they showed it. It was like a full minute and a half of him going, they did such a good job. We're so proud of it.
Yes.
So much worse. They did great. I
over
love them.
And over again. And I have never seen that. They went on radio broadcasts. Firefighters went on there and said, oh yeah, we did an awesome job. The police and I did an awesome job. Over and over. And they came out and did these press conferences over and over again. All they said was how great they did.
They're not even talking about what happened, but we did a good job at what happened. We're not telling you.
I've never seen that before. And your whole body is going, something is wrong. They're covering up something. Something is wrong. They did something or didn't do something, and they know it. And they're not going to say anything. And they all, they all went into a room and said, everybody say, you're not going to say it. Tom, Bill, Steve, Mark, everybody say it. Never going to say the truth. Never going to say it.
Do you have your theories? I mean, I think it's just someone high up said, don't go in yet. Don't do anything. And waited too long.
Yep.
Someone said, no, don't do it.
Yep.
And these girls died.
Yeah. Yep. Because
it's somebody high up that had control over the situation that made a fatal mistake.
Yep.
That's my thought.
Yeah. So we go back to Thomas Ullman, who's Stephen's attorney, and he starts talking about the death penalty. And he said, look, if the state or the prosecutor gets to use the death penalty with my client and Joshua, then the next case comes along and they get to use the death penalty with that case. But what if the suspects or the perpetrators or the offenders are not guilty? What if they actually didn't do this, but they get the death penalty? So he said, you can't open that door because now everybody will walk through that door, which I understand very, very vaguely on a very light basis. I understand what he was saying about if you let them do the death penalty, then every single case now will be a death penalty case.
There is fallibility within the courts because we are humans and we could be making a mistake.
Right.
When we say someone's guilty, do we want to make the further mistake that they need to be put to death?
Right. So then he says something interesting to me, which I didn't quite understand. He says, Thomas says, Stephen's attorney says that people say that the death penalty is more expensive, or it saves money. Sorry, the death penalty saves money. That it's more expensive for inmates to sit on death row or just sit in jail, in prison. But then he says they have an unlimited checkbook, unlimited funds. I don't understand that sentence. What is he talking about? Does he mean that the government has unlimited funds to just keep paying for inmates to be in prison? I didn't understand that. I don't know what he meant by that sentence. So he just said that the death penalty doesn't save money. He wasn't. Anyway, but he said that weird thing. So I don't know what he was implying there.
I don't remember following that part.
Okay. He says that Stephen, I don't remember how many days later, said, I want to plead guilty. I'll plead guilty to everything. I will plead guilty. Just don't give me the death penalty. Just put me in jail for life without no parole, and I will plead guilty. And the state said, nope. They completely rejected it and said, no, we're going to trial. And they were very disappointed that they didn't accept their offer to plead guilty. Joshua does the same thing through his attorney and says, I'll plead guilty to everything. I just don't want the death penalty. They reject his offer also. And then we hear Jennifer's parents, the minister and the mother, say, look, I am a Methodist minister and I am against the death penalty. I don't believe in it. I don't want it, but it's happened to me now. It's happened to my family. And the mother says there has to be some sort of punishment. There has to be a punishment imposed for what you did on certain crimes. And I am certain that was very difficult for them to come to conclusion of, or even to say out loud.
Yeah, I think that was the only thing that I felt like wasn't. I'm still to this day, I don't feel that I'm certain on what their opinion is.
Yeah, true.
I don't know if they are pro-death penalty for these guys.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Then we switch over to meeting some of Stephen's family. Stephen has two brothers that we meet, Matthew and Brian, which I don't even know how to describe them. Matthew is the main brother who talks quite a bit, describing their childhood and describing Stephen as the oldest brother. And Matthew comes off, maybe a little bit on the autism spectrum. I don't know.
There's something going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, again,
he was articulate, very intelligent. Yep, very smart.
His family was dysfunctional.
Yes.
And he wears it.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I think he's probably set up a good life for himself and things like that.
Yeah.
But the trauma of his childhood, he walks around with that.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
And almost the same thing for the other brother as well. Although I think the other brother is like, can we just not talk about this anymore? Is kind of the vibe I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, is it Brian? Brian would talk about it all day long. Like, hey, do you like your brother?
Right.
And he would be like, no, and here's why. You have 4 hours.
Yes. And so we find out that after Stephen was paroled, he moves into his elderly mother's home, or one bedroom apartment kind of duplex. Mm-hmm. And mother has the bedroom, and Stephen sleeps on the couch, and Brian, the brother who doesn't want to talk about it, sleeps on the floor in the front room, living room area. And like you said, completely dysfunctional, right? Matthew tells a story about as soon as Stephen moves in, he steals mother's car, right? He's been lying to their mother about probably his drug use and probably the robbing and the burglarizing. And so he's not obviously doing well living in the home with the mother. But then mom finds out after a while that she's been lied to. And again, they don't really say what she finds out or what Stephen's been lying about. We can just infer that it's probably drug use and the burglaries.
Money.
The money. That she finally says, get out. You need to find a halfway house or somewhere else to live. You can't live here anymore. And even Brian, the brother that was sleeping on the floor, said, I didn't like my brother. I didn't want to go home. I would go home at the very last point, just go to sleep and pretend to be asleep when everybody woke up because I hated my brother. I didn't like listening to him. He lied to my mother and said, I will take care of you. I'll make all this money. I'll do all these things and I'll buy you a new home and I'll buy you a car. And the two brothers are like, he's the biggest liar and manipulator on the planet. And he's lying to our elderly mother. And so they didn't really, like him either. But they're, again, like you said, super articulate, very intelligent people. Matthew tells us, the brother who could talk about Stephen all day long, he tells us they find out from the People magazine that he went to the grocery store to buy that had the family's picture on the front and his brother's picture inside the magazine about the article, that he finds out that Stephen strangled and raped Jennifer, the mother, and that Stephen poured gasoline on the 2 daughters and set them on fire. This is when, as a viewer, you're thinking, oh my God, what am I about to watch? We had no idea because the police weren't telling anybody anything about what happened inside the house. And he finds that out from the People magazine article that this happened in July, and Stephen was paroled in November. And he didn't pass the drug test, so he went back inside and they paroled him. He went back to prison. They paroled him 5 months later. And then this murder happened. Literally, boom, boom, boom. And again, I work in the court system. If I were to look at someone's history, like I said, I would go, that person's going to escalate to something different. Looking at what they've done, that is just how it works. If you go back and look at these people in prison and look at their history, it slowly escalates to something horrific like this. So for people to say, we had no idea he was going to do this is complete false. It's completely false.
Especially if they had a conversation with Matthew.
Yeah.
He says they are fucking stupid for putting them on the street.
Yeah. Yep. The next part is, again, disturbing again, where we meet. And I want to preface with, I have no idea how any of this happened. We meet another, I think, Methodist minister or reverend. His 2 daughters.
This shook me.
Yes, his 2 daughters. Trigger warning again. Named Clarice and Carolyn. At their church, they met Joshua, the 26-year-old perpetrator. So he met these 2 young women at church, and he wanted to marry the youngest one, Carolyn. I've watched this documentary 3 times now, and I don't think they ever said her age. I don't remember. I didn't write it down, but she was clearly young. Her age. Yes, clearly very young. Joshua called her dad up. He says, I think, to ask for my blessing so he could marry Carolyn. And I told Joshua on the phone, I think you're a career criminal, and I think you're a pedophile. And Joshua said, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And then we see pictures of them getting married. Again, my question is, how in the hell did, as a father, he let this happen? I know literally he can't keep his daughter locked up and not let her do anything. But you would think...
She looked 14.
At least.
I mean, the Reverend does say, I think he went after my daughters. Because Joshua went after both girls.
Yeah.
He says, I think that he went after my daughters because they both looked so young. Yeah. They both are looking very young. Can you imagine the conversation of like, I'd like to marry your daughter. Go, but I think you're a pedophile. What?
Right.
This is, I think, another cornerstone of this documentary is just the society's failures.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the systemic failure within the court system, letting these men be out on the street, not seeing the patterns that are so clearly there. Yeah. But Joshua, his come from the church in a really bizarre way. Yeah. Whereas I think Stephen's are just family dysfunction and substance abuse. Yeah. Joshua's are a whole nother animal.
Oh, yeah.
So, trigger warning as Keeley.
Yeah. So, Joshua ends up marrying Carolyn. Again, she looks 14 or 15 years old. And she says they're soulmates. And she reads this love letter that he mails to her. Again, very articulate, very descriptive. Not really sexual, but, I mean, beautifully written to someone that he loves. Again, she is a child. But she You can tell she's in love with him. She cries and says she was soulmates, and Josh was very romantic, and that's one thing she loved about him. And you're just, as a viewer, knowing what you've just known for the last hour, or just getting sick listening to her and feeling so horrible for her. We see pictures of them. They have taken selfies of each other unclothed. I mean, you don't see any genitalia, but they're unclothed. And she says, we had a very sexually active relationship, and he liked to tie me up and he liked to choke me. But he was very considerate in saying, is this too tight? Is this hurting you? And she said it was a very submissive, dominant sexual relationship. And you are thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick listening to this child think this is normal in some way. And so they get past that, and again, they go back to May of the same year of this murder. So the murder happened in July. This was in May. And they're talking about Stephen and Joshua's treatment, about how they were doing so well in treatment. And, you know, people called Stephen Mr. NA because he knew the Narcotics Anonymous handbook from front to back. And that's how Joshua and Stephen related.
Just, like, versed.
Right.
So versed in the recovery process.
He would ask Stephen questions. They read these excerpts from Stephen's therapy notes, where Stephen writes, quote, drugs are not my main problem. I am my main problem, my self-destructive attitude and behavior. What I like getting high is the escape feelings. Unresolved anger controls me. It haunts me day and night, sometimes to a point of obsession, even scary fantasy. So these are his therapy notes that he's
writing himself.
And I just want to go back to the judicial system, which is what I work in, which is what I believe in. I see day after day, person after person, the judicial system is more worried about the offender and what it looks like on the outside, that they are treating this person with equal rights and with very soft hands, I guess, going, okay, we believe in you. We're going to give you another chance. I'm just going to give you probation. Okay, I'm going to let you out of jail. Okay, I'm going to give you credit time served, because they're so worried about violating the rights of these offenders that this shit happens. I'm not blaming any judges. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is society and the reality of the judicial system affects these people inside, because they don't want the perception that they didn't give this person their rights as a human being, I guess, which I completely disagree with. I'm sorry. You have raped someone, you've murdered someone, you've beaten someone into unrecognizable, and now you think they deserve to have credit time served? You think they deserve that? They don't. They don't, because of their actions. That is my opinion, but the judicial system has this weird mirror reflecting back on them, going, oh, if I don't give them these rights, right, something's going to happen to me.
I think also it's that similar to what I was asking about the therapist.
Yeah.
We have this like feeling of wanting people to be redeemed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And we want them to get better. That's also supposed to be the point of, partially.
Yeah.
The point of jail.
Yeah.
Is that we should be rehabilitating these people. We should be getting them to a place where they can go back into society and be productive members of society.
Yep.
And I think this has opened up such a can of worms for me, because I do believe in restorative justice, and I do believe that people need to have I believe in the rule of law. I believe in due process.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it's important to have programs to rehabilitate people and to give them skills, social, emotionally, as well as like vocationally, to re-enter them into society. However, we're looking at these guys. They're not really getting, these guys are so smart that they've manipulated the system.
Yep.
They know what they need to say.
Yep.
They can say crazy fucking shit.
Yep.
But then when they get up in front of the judge, as long as they're like, I'm so sorry, I have really learned my lesson here. And they do it to everyone in their lives.
Yep.
What's the threshold? And once you have that threshold, then that threshold becomes a slippery slope. So it's this like vicious cycle. Yeah. So I see both arguments, and there's no easy answer to it. And I think a lot of people think that there are easy answers to it, because there are times that the judicial system is gone out of control. Correct. And somebody who is innocent is found guilty and is locked away for decades of their lives and then can come back out. And it's like 100%. Does that happen? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think with your experiences, okay, so we also are seeing daily these people who are not really feeling the letter of the law.
Right.
And coming out worse than they were before.
Correct.
And just more informed on how to work this system.
Yep.
To do it again and to escalate.
Absolutely.
Is what I see.
Absolutely. That's so correct. So we then meet Stephen's psychiatrist, Dr. Goldsmith, where he says 1 or 2 days before the murder that Stephen, he gets kicked out of his home with his mom, and he goes to a hotel, and he locks himself in the hotel room with a bunch of crack cocaine and heroin and tries to kill himself. Again, that's what his defense attorney, grabs onto and describes Stephen as suicidal and depressed. And so we hear his psychiatrist, who probably interviewed him for the trial, Stephen, telling him about this story. Here's my thing. I struggle with the genuine thought that he really wanted to kill himself or he just wanted attention. Because he's so manipulative, that's why I go towards the attention point of it. Maybe he did have depression. I don't know. I'm not discounting that. But these perpetrators and these offenders, chronic perpetrators and offenders, seek out that attention. And it's kind of like a high or a fix to them. When someone doesn't notice them, that's why they go out and do these other crimes. And so for him to get more attention is to try and commit suicide. And I'm not saying that maybe he wasn't depressed or suicidal. I just lean towards he didn't want to have to face the penalty of what's going on, and is doing it for attention, for people to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, look at you. I'm so sorry this has happened to you. Maybe his mom would feel bad and let him back in. Yeah. So we hear he tries to commit suicide a couple of days before the murder happens. They go back to Caroline, the child bride of Joshua. She says, I think I talked to him Sunday. He didn't call me. We usually say goodnight. I love you. And then I tried to call him on Monday, which is the day the murder happens. He didn't answer the phone, and I knew something was going on. She says that Mrs. Komisarjevsky calls her Monday and says, this is what happened. Josh left the house wearing dark clothing in the middle of the night, and he only does that when he's going to go rob houses. And I'm thinking to myself, Mom, if you know that, why aren't you calling the police? Or why aren't you doing something? I don't know. It was just very weird comment to me. So that's how Caroline finds out about what happened. They show, in January of 2008, they have a community candlelight vigil. The community really rallies around this family. I mean, protects them and is on their side quite vigilantly. So we have this beautiful candlelight vigil. Dr. Petit starts this foundation for his 2 daughters. And I forgot to mention that the oldest daughter, Haley, when they found out that Jennifer had MS, she did quite a lot of fundraising for MS and had raised almost $50,000 because she thought that if she didn't do something that her mom would die. So she felt like doing some sort of activism work at 18 years old. And a lot of her friends said you would never have known because
they had no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Was very private and just didn't walk around boasting about, hey, I got a 4.0 GPA. Hey, I'm doing all this activism work. Hey, I did this, I did that. She just wasn't that kind of a person. And so Dr. Petit starts these foundations in his daughter's names. We go back to one of the journalists that we see kind of in the beginning when we're talking about getting the information from one of the, I guess, popular newspapers there in Cheshire. And he had filed a complaint against the fire department and the police department to get all the information. And so we see a little bit of this hearing that goes on, and it rules in their favor, the journalist, the reporter's favor. So they hand them this redacted report, this police report, which redacted means they keep out a lot, like names, birthdays, addresses, social security numbers. They keep out a lot of this information to protect, witnesses or victims. But this journalist for this newspaper says, okay, reading this report, you can see that the police were there at the Petit home either before this murder and fire started, or the police could have pulled over the car that Jennifer and Stephen were driving and arrested Stephen, or beat Stephen and Jennifer home, got there before they got home, could have arrested Stephen, could have gone in the house and gotten Joshua, and nobody would have died from this report that he gets, which is, you're thinking, oh my God, this is making me sick. Because you remember what I said in the beginning. I need you to remember at 9:21 is when this dispatch phone call happened. So he's telling us all of this. And then you cut to this mayor of this town saying, look, people want to know, like you said, for salacious reasons, for reporters want to know all this information, and we're just going to keep telling them no. No, you may not have it. No, you may not have it. That's why this reporter had to file this action, the civil action against these departments.
The Freedom of Information Act.
To get this information. Oh my God. So they go back to saying, the sister says, Dr. Petit said he came out of the house. He saw the police there. He was calling for the neighbor. And then we find out that, I think we said, that the mother, the father, and the sister of Jennifer have all written letters to the police department saying, please tell us what happened. Over and over and over again. And they haven't responded. And then we see this town manager go on a press conference. I think he's a city council person is what that means. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Fuck that guy.
Right. Saying they did such a great job. Then they cut to Thomas Ullman, who's Stephen Hayes' defense attorney. And he now has the unredacted transcript of police dispatch. So dispatch keeps a timeline. You're on the phone and they know what's happening second, minute by minute. And he has this report that have everybody's names, that has the time of what happened, what time, who, what, when, where. And he's reading it to us. And he's telling us at 9:21 is when the 911 call comes in. At 9:56, dispatch is saying 2 suspects are coming out of the home and moving into a Chrysler type vehicle. 9:57, the house is on fire. The police were at this Petit home for over 30 minutes and did nothing. Did nothing. In that 30 minutes, Jennifer was strangled. Jennifer was raped. Michaela was raped, which is the 11-year-old. And the house was set on fire from the inside. The two girls were tied to their beds, and gasoline was poured on them, and they were set on fire while they were alive. This is why while the police were outside of the home, watching the home, setting up a perimeter. Setting up a perimeter? What the fuck are you doing? What do you mean setting up a perimeter? You go in that house and you stop what's going on. So this defense attorney is saying this is just disgusting. It's horrific to read through, knowing this is what the police have been keeping from the public. This is what they're not saying. This is why they're going on TV going, we did such a great job. And they're patting themselves on the back going, we're so great. We're so great. No, we're not going to tell you anything else. And this is why they're not going to respond to any of, mom and dad's or sister's letters. This is foul and disgusting. That they could hear the girls screaming because they were on fire inside the home, burning alive. They find out that the state of Connecticut is trying to abolish the death penalty in the middle of all of this going on before trial has happened. And so Dr. Petit goes on a radio show and talks about this and how the death penalty is a deterrent for these criminals, because that's what the other side says. Death penalty isn't a deterrent for these criminals because they don't care. They're these horrific murderers or serial killers. They don't give a shit if they're going to get the death penalty, and it's not a deterrent. So why would we have it? And Dr. Petit says the death penalty is definitely a deterrent. Do you know why? Because they're dead and they can't commit their crimes anymore. So yeah, it's a deterrent. So then he testifies in front of their legislature about why to keep the death penalty. And they have other people they show on the documentary saying Dr. Petit is basically a poster child for and against the death penalty, right?
I mean, I think that if there's any case that says that the death penalty should be a thing, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is exactly why you would want the death penalty. And I completely respect. He's created the foundation for his daughters and continued the one for his wife that his daughter had created for MS. And he's doing these amazing things. And his daughter was pre-med and she wanted to become a physician, and he's a doctor. And so that was like amazing for him. And everyone's rallied around him in this. And I don't think, how do you look at him in the face and go, no, it's wrong. I don't think that that's appropriate. No. And I think that he has every right to advocate for that for himself.
100%. We go back to the attorneys. The defense attorneys say, we're not quite sure. It's not a guarantee, first of all, that these perpetrators or offenders will ever get the death penalty. They could just years and years and years of appeals and trial. And the case is focused on the murderers or the offenders, and they become these sort of celebrities or these poster children, right? Instead of what it should be about, which is victims. Now it becomes about the murderers. So the attorneys explain that the state has to prove to be able to get the death penalty that this case is much more worse than any other triple murder. So they have to have these aggravating factors, which means they have to tell you what I said, trigger warning, that the 11-year-old was raped, that the girls were tied to the bed and had gasoline poured on them and set on fire while they were alive. They have to prove that in court. They have to say those things. They have to show those photos to be able to say, yes, this is a case for the death penalty. And a lot of people don't want to hear that information. It affects the jurors probably their entire lives. I mean, it affects the community. The community listens to these trials, either in person or if it's televised. So it affects a lot of people. And so that's why these defense attorneys, also to keep their clients alive, but they, argue against it. But that's explaining why, or what they have to do to be able to get the death penalty imposed. They said in Connecticut, they've only had one gentleman have the death penalty imposed on him after 25 years. And he even asked to be put to death. So it was a weird difference of opinion. Rare. Yeah. So they show in May of 2008 that they have demolished the Petit home, and they make this memorial garden where the home is beautiful. You can go and visit, and they have their names and all these beautiful flowers everywhere. So they demolished the home. So even if you've had other juries take what I called field trips out to the crime scene to see, they can't do that anymore. This home is demolished now for that to happen. We see Matthew, which is one of Stephen's brother, the one that would talk about it all day long, writing a letter to one of the detectives about Stephen, right, basically in favor of him getting, I think, the death penalty, because he wasn't, a great brother growing up, and the predisposition to violence was always there. So then we see in 2009, so this is 2 years after the murder, still haven't gone to trial yet. Connecticut legislature votes to abolish the death penalty, but the governor vetoes the bill. So they still have the death penalty to be able to use it against Joshua and Stephen. Cynthia says, look, I am going to go to trial. I'm going to sit through this thing. I'm going every day. I'm going to watch it. And I need to find out, not to, hurt myself, but to find out, what my sister and my nieces went through, what their death was like, to have some sort of closure, which is completely poetic. And again, I don't know how these people are so good and not just a puddle of tears, right? But she says, I have to go and I have to listen to get the finality of everything. So then we find out that Joshua has been keeping a diary the whole time he's in jail, which is disgusting and vile. And they show us this excerpt of his diary because he writes about the murder. And the excerpt is, quote, "A thief in the night, I've come not to steal jewels and money, but your personal safety, privacy, and security. I violate your inner asylum of intimacy, and I piss on your optical illusion of peace and innocence, and I feast on your animosity. The Petit family passed through their fear and into calm waters of abject terror, like mesmerized rabbits cornered by a springing predator. To see that fear and that emotional pain manifested on others' faces validates the pain in me. I can't with this man. Obviously, they're going to use that in trial too. They use anything and everything they have. But for the man to write this down, again, I'm not going to say this in a positive way, but clearly he grew up in a home of arts and letters. To be able to write that poetically, eloquently, is so disgusting and disturbing that it is shocking to me. They go back to Caroline, the child bride, and she says, I talked to Joshua on the phone while he was in jail, and he said he never raped that 11-year-old, and I knew he did. I knew that he did, but he kept telling me he didn't.
her life is destroyed by this man.
Yep.
And it was destroyed before he did all of this, but the hardest part of watching that is she's still in love with him.
Yep.
Considers him her soulmate.
Yep.
And she also hates him for what he's done.
Yeah. Yes.
She knows how horrific what he's done is.
Yeah.
And she's like, and that's my soulmate.
Yep.
And you're like,
what?
She's such a broken person. It's awful. Hearing that, as he had written it, is so dark and disgusting and just like the most evil thing you can hear. And the undertone of it for me is his hubris.
Oh, yeah.
There's pride there. He feels superior because look what he created. Mm-hmm. And look how he did that. That doesn't get fixed.
No, that has always been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awful. Caroline does say, I don't believe that Joshua knew Michaela before this, but she does say, I think he was thinking of Michaela every time we would do these sexual acts together, of being tied up or being choked. She said he would think of, some sort of child while he was doing those things to her. And she said a punishment that would be good enough for him would be having done to Joshua what he did to each one of those people. It's so hard for her to say that because, anyway, she's so young and in love with him, clearly. Then we come to their jury trials, which happens in 2010 and 2011. They have separate jury trials. Stephen goes on trial first. And they have all these hearings basically saying that they can't get an impartial jury pool in Cheshire or in Connecticut because everybody and their dog knows about this and everybody has an opinion. And they motion the court to move it to a different venue, county, city, state, and the judge denies that. So they have the trial.
Did you think that was odd?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know the particulars. They didn't release why the judge will always give a reason. Mm-hmm. They didn't release that. No, I'm not surprised. Maybe he or she thought that they had enough people, meaning the city or the county was large enough, numbers wise, like maybe they had 500,000 people that lived there. I don't know. I didn't look it up. They thought that they could, maybe that's the reason why he denied it, because I just want to go back to our trial that we just had here, why they moved.
That's what I was thinking.
The trial from Moscow to Boise, because they literally did not have enough people that lived there to choose from. And here we have 500,000, more than 500,000 people that live here in Boise that you can choose from, even though everybody and their dog knows about it, right? Mm-hmm. You can choose from that pool because there's 500,000 or more people that live here. Where in Moscow, they didn't have that literal number.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't put two and two together for that. I was just thinking of the distance.
Yeah. So
that was a national story, but so is this. I feel like I think I heard about this story when this was happening.
Yeah.
But Connecticut is not a big state.
Yeah.
You could probably fit 15 to 20 Connecticut's in Idaho.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking distance-wise, one of the things that they bring up is that it was 15 minutes from the courthouse to the murder scene. I was a little surprised that they didn't move it. I don't think you could get an impartial jury in Connecticut.
Correct. Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So they denied it. They kept the trial there. So before the trial starts, we hear a phone call from Matthew, who's Stephen's brother, that says he gets a phone call from Stephen's attorney that they go into the jail and Stephen is to check on him in the morning, and Stephen's there unresponsive. So Stephen had tried to kill himself again. He had squirreled away 9 or so doses of Thorazine and Klonopin. And Thorazine, I looked it up, is an antipsychotic. I didn't know that. And Klonopin is a benzo or a tranquilizer. So he combined those two, took those, tried to kill himself. They put him in a medical coma. And they obviously couldn't proceed without him. Now what happens after he tries to commit suicide? Now what they have to do is a competency on Stephen to see if he knows right from wrong, knows what he did, why he did it. They have to, and that can take months, if not years, to do these competency hearings. They find him incompetent. They can do restorable, means they give him medication, and then they do a competency hearing again to see if the medication is working. So we don't know a timeline of all of that, but it can't go on without him. But then they show a little disclaimer that says Stephen was found competent to proceed to trial after this suicidal attempt. So now he's in a special jail cell. He's in special jail clothing that he can't rip apart and make a noose and try and kill himself. And they show Dr. Petit coming out of these many, many hearings that they have to have just on Stephen. And they ask him, Dr. Petit, how do you feel about listening to Stephen, about Stephen and his mental health and these suicide attempts and everything they had to go through for hours and hours? And he says that, you know, they can rape us, they can torture us, they can beat us, and they can set us on fire, but he's not allowed to have the lights on. And that's what we're concerned about. And he's not wrong. He is not wrong.
No, I can understand that 100%.
Yeah. So they finally get to trial, and they explain that the jury has 2 decisions to make, whether they're guilty or innocent. And then if they're guilty, the jury decides on the death penalty. Does the jury give them the death penalty, or does the jury impose some other, life sentence or something? And a lot of people don't understand that when they get called to jury duty is, depending on the case, you're going to have to decide sentence as well, which sometimes is even worse than the trial, right? So we see Jennifer's mom and dad show up at the trial. Obviously, Dr. Petit is there. And we hear, during the trial, we get to hear Joshua's basic confession the day that they arrest him, the day of the murders, which is so chilling and stomach churning to listen to his recounting of the events that happened. He says that it was a home invasion gone wrong. And you're thinking, oh my God, I feel like that's a super minimization, but that's what he says.
I think the most disturbing part of all of it, and it's all horrific, just awful.
Yeah.
Is he's casual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Casually explaining what happened.
Yeah.
And minimizing is the correct word. He'll tell you what he did, but he doesn't take any ownership of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He said he went to the Stop and Shop in Cheshire at 7:30, and he was waiting for a contractor to make a payment. And we see a still photograph of Joshua standing in the grocery store, just a black and white photograph of him standing there. And he says, while I was waiting there, I saw a mother and a daughter walking around the store, and I chose to follow them. He said, and I chose to follow them back to their house. And I saw that the house they lived in, and I thought, it would be nice to live there someday. And during this time, we find out that Josh and Stephen are texting each other that same night, back and forth, because Joshua has come up with the idea to rob this family, to rob this house. So he gets Stephen involved. And Stephen is very anxious about wanting to do this. And this is what the text messages are showing, that Stephen's like, I want to do it now. Why are we waiting? And Joshua's like, hold your horses. We're going to do it at this certain time, at this certain place. And so Stephen drives to Cheshire to pick up Joshua. They go to a bar and they get drunk, and then they leave the bar and they go to the neighborhood that Joshua remembers, and they're driving up and down the street trying to find the house. And they finally find the house, and he says that they made their way into the house. They had face masks on and rubber gloves, and he said, we noticed that the father was sleeping downstairs. And Joshua said, I could see Stephen motioning to me to strike him over the head and to hit him. So Joshua's now blaming Stephen, which you're not surprised that the two are going to blame each other. And so Joshua says, I picked up a baseball bat and I started hitting him. And he lets out this unearthly scream. And he said to get him to stop screaming, I just kept hitting him because he wouldn't be quiet. So you see a photo. We get to see a photo of the bat that he used. And he said he thought he was dead because Mr. Petit kind of curled up in the corner of the couch to try and get away from him hitting him. And he said he stopped. And so he thought he was dead. They both thought Dr. Petit was dead. So he said they go up the stairs, and Stephen goes into Jennifer's bedroom and she's asleep, and he puts his hand over her mouth and wakes her gently. I don't know what that looks like. I don't understand those words, but he says Stephen wakes her gently. And then they each go into the daughter's room, do the same thing, and they tie them up. They tie their feet together. They tie their wrists together. And he said they put pillowcases over the women so they couldn't see us. And he said... Joshua said, I went back into KK's room. KK is Michaela, the 11-year-old. And the police said, how do you know that they call her KK? How do you know that? And he said, that's what I heard mother and sister referring her to as KK. So he keeps referring to this 11-year-old from this nickname that the family has given her, this endearing, private nickname, which is so horrific and almost violating as a viewer to listen to him call this child this nickname. He goes into the room. He says he starts to talk to her about her school and her summer plans. She asks for a glass of water, and he goes and gets her a glass of water. And morning finally comes around about 8:30. So they're in the house about 3 a.m. This is 5.5 hours that he's been in this home. And 8:30 rolls around, and Stephen unties the mother, Jennifer, and says they're going to the bank to take out this large sum of money. And so Stephen and Jennifer are gone. Josh is in the house with the two daughters, and he thinks that dad is dead in the basement. And Josh says, it's taking longer than it should. I'm not quite sure what's going on. He says Joshua went back downstairs to check on the dad. And he said the dad hadn't moved. But later we find out that Joshua felt bad for the dad. Gave him a towel for the blood. Gave him some pillows to sit on so he could be comfortable.
On the concrete basement floor where they tied him up.
Yeah.
After they beat him with a bat.
So then he said after he tried to make the dad comfortable, he went back up to KK's room. And this again is while the mom and Stephen are gone. And he said, quote, one thing led to another, and he ended up performing oral sex on KK. And the interviewer questioned him, and Joshua responds, well, her hands were tied, but her legs were not tied at this point. Joshua says he took pictures of KK, of the 11-year-old. The police know that Joshua is not lying because of the pictures that he took of her. He took pictures of Michaela when they first got there, and then after he raped her. And she had different clothes on. So they knew that something had happened. He said, I used a pair of scissors to cut off her clothes. Michaela asked to take a shower after he raped her. And we see in the documentary at this point, while the jury is listening to his taped confession, some of the jurors are having difficulty listening to it, and so they stop the trial to give everybody a break because it's very upsetting to listen to him recount what happened. So then they go back, and Joshua says Stephen came back with Jennifer. Stephen had the money, he had the cash, and Joshua says, I told Stephen, are you ready? Let's go. We have what we need. We've done what we came here to do, which again, you can infer. I think he knew that he was going to rape this child when he went in there. But he says, we came what we needed to do. Let's go. And Joshua claims that Stephen says, no, we're going to kill them and we're going to burn the house down. And Joshua claims and says, no, I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm not killing anyone. Joshua says Stephen told him, you go kill the mom and I'll kill the daughters. And Joshua says, I'm not doing any of this. I'm not doing it. So Stephen says, fine, I'll just kill all three of them. So that's when Stephen went in and strangled Jennifer and then raped her afterwards. And then Stephen went down to the basement to get 2 bottles of gasoline and came back upstairs. And Joshua says that he watched Stephen go into KK's room and pour the gasoline on her and on the bed while she was still alive, while she was still in the house. And Joshua said he then just closed the door. And he says, Joshua claims it did not occur to him to untie her. It just didn't occur to him. He didn't understand. I just didn't think of it. Then then Joshua says Stephen went into the eldest daughter's room and did the same thing and went downstairs and poured the gasoline downstairs and then got an oversized pack of matches and then lit the house on fire. And we can see the home in these huge, just engulfed in huge flames. During these testimony, Cynthia, Jennifer's sister, is taking notes and drawing pictures of what she's seeing on these photographs that they're showing Obviously, they don't show us, the viewers, the pictures of the bodies. One, because, Michaela's a minor, and two, it's probably too horrific for our brains to even process. But she drew a picture, and we got to see her pictures of the bed in Haley's room, which is the 18-year-old. And she said, she drew a picture of the trail of gasoline up on top of the bed and the gasoline on the bed. And she drew a picture of Haley's body on the floor near the bed, because Haley was up walking around while she was on fire and then fell down. And she said she was on fire on the front part of her body. And we get to see this drawing of that she makes. We understand that the fire department testifies, and that's how we learn that the girls were still alive.
It's horrible. It's really horrible.
So the defense attorneys get up there and they question the police about the timeline and the fire department about the timeline. And the police and the fire department say we followed protocol. There was nothing else we could have done, which is horrible and disgusting. And we all know that that is not a protocol to listen to people burning alive inside the home. One of the officers said when he was testifying that the story almost didn't make sense. And when he says the story, what he's referring to is the 911 call of Jennifer saying, I need help because my husband and my daughters are being held at their home. We're being kidnapped. And I wrote down, of course you're not going to believe it because a woman is telling you. If a man were to say that, I 100% believe that they would have immediately followed him, pulled him over, and helped him. But because a woman is saying it, they think she's being dramatic and they think she's lying. Because the story is so horrific that they are like, that can't be true, so we're not going to believe you.
I feel like there's... we've seen so many of these shows.
Yeah.
Where they're staging home invasion gone wrong to hide what they've done, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's out of the realm of logic to say they were suspicious of this. This raised red flags. This is fucking insane. Yeah. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't happen because this isn't something that's in their norm. I don't think that having a suspicion in that process, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Mm. However, I think in the police, in their line of work, they have to question just about everything as it's coming through. However, they know that there are children in that home. Yeah. So even if you think she's lying, act like she's not. Yeah. Until you know that everyone's safe. Yeah. And that's not what they did. No, that's not what they did. And they proved it, that it's not what they did, because they had the police report, they had the dispatch timeline. Even Dr. Petit said, I saw the police standing there when I came out, and they didn't help me. They didn't do anything. They didn't go in my home. So they have all of this proof that the police fucked up and basically let these poor women be tortured and these girls killed. Ugh. So ultimately, both trials, Stephen and Joshua are found guilty in both 2010, 2011, and they're found guilty of the multiple capital felony murder offenses. And now the jury has to decide whether they're going to get life or death. And so the defense attorneys start doing these mitigating arguments, which means this is why. Here's all the facts. This is why Joshua did this. This is why Stephen did all of these things. And Stephen's defense attorney said, look, he was never trying to get out of it. He wanted to plead guilty however many days or weeks after, and we could have never have done this. And Stephen felt like
Joshua was the mastermind, basically. So they're, like I said, they're blaming each other, and that Joshua minimized the sexual assault and the rape of the 11-year-old and explained that it was just contact with her and ejaculation and it wasn't a rape. Joshua and Stephen both had gasoline on their clothing, and so Joshua can't blame Stephen, right? Because Joshua had gasoline on his clothing, meaning he handled the gasoline, he poured the gasoline, he did something with the gasoline himself, and it wasn't just Stephen, it wasn't Joshua watching Stephen doing all of this, that Joshua had a part in it also. Joshua was the one that suggested going into the house and robbing these people. It wasn't Stephen's idea. Stephen, right, is trying to kill himself. He's suicidal. He's in an isolation cell for 23 hours a day. He says that Stephen has nightmares of his children burning alive, which I'm sorry, he should. He should have nightmares for the rest of his life. Yeah. So they're using these things as mitigating factors. That says, why didn't Joshua untie the girls? Blaming Joshua again. Joshua's attorney says, look, Stephen tried to run. Stephen rammed the police car. He gave him a fake name when they pulled him over. He said there's nobody in the house. When they said, what's going on in the house? Who's in the house? And Stephen said, nobody. I don't know what you're talking about. And Stephen lied. And Joshua's attorney said, Joshua, he came out of the house and he surrendered. He told him his correct name. He told him there's 3 people in the house that are dead and, there's a dad in there. He told them all the truth. He confessed to the murders right away. Stephen didn't do any of that. And so we see the defense attorney saying Dr. Petit is too outspoken on the death penalty, and it has affected the jury to be fair, which I had a hard time listening to the defense attorney saying that.
I did not appreciate that at all.
Yeah. That Dr. Petit going and testifying in front of the legislature, that was being too outspoken and not being able to have the lawmakers make a fair decision about abolishing the death penalty. So we see Stephen's brothers show up at the death penalty phase, the sentencing phase. They hadn't shown up in court before. The jury takes a while to decide, but they sentence both of them to the death penalty. The jury comes back with their verdict with the death penalty for both of them. And the defense says, we're going to appeal these verdicts. We're pretty devastated that the jury came back with this. We don't agree with it. We're going to start the appeal process. The Petits are happy with the jury's verdict, both being guilty and having the death penalty. And Dr. Petit says, the penalty phase was hard for him because, again, of these mitigating factors. He said they showed baby photos of, the defendants and talked about their lives, and he doesn't understand how that's relevant. He said, Charles Manson was a baby once too, and it's just not relevant. Which I thought was really profound. Jennifer's father, which I thought said this, which I thought was super eloquent and very, it took me a minute. I had to stop the documentary after he said this, but he said, if having closure means forgetting her, he doesn't want it. I've never heard anybody say that before about having closure. These people are so good and so loving. So he said, I don't want closure because I don't want to forget my daughter. And at the end of the show, they say that the police refused to participate in the documentary. And to this day, like you said, the police have not responded to the letters from the Jennifer's family asking to tell them what actually happened. That's the end of the show. They show them at the site of where the house was, where the garden is. Did you want to talk about what your thoughts of the death penalty was after watching the show?
Yeah, I would say, and we've talked about this before, serial killer lore has been something that my family has talked about forever. Yeah. True crime is something that I've been immersed in since like high school. And I would say I have always been pro death penalty. I don't see why not. And I would say after watching this, I am against the death penalty.
Okay.
And my thought process on that is, I mean, the first generic response typically for being against the death penalty is, well, you don't want to be like that person.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want, and I think that is unfair, like, simplicity of it.
Right. And Dr. Petit even says murder by definition is the unlawful taking of a life. And the death penalty, he believes, is the lawful taking of a life. Like, the government is not murdering Joshua and Stephen, because what Joshua and Stephen did was murder.
Sure.
And so...
And I think feeling that way and wanting that...
Yeah.
I can't argue. I can't say that that's a wrong thing. I don't think that that's wrong for him to feel that way. I don't think it's wrong to see someone go, I don't think that Stephen and Joshua should be alive. I don't. I also think that while we are having massive system failures where these men were able to get out and they shouldn't have been out.
Yeah.
There's parts of this that we're talking about the background of Joshua. Joshua genetically in his history has so much mental illness, clearly had massive amounts of mental illness while he was a child. They had him in special ed, and then they homeschooled him, and then they just had him in church. And this was the kind of church that they were speaking in tongues over him because he could see the devil. And they were like, yeah, you can see the devil and we're going to pray over you and have an exorcism. And that was normal. So he wasn't actually getting any treatment. Right. And then he's a pedophile and he's burglarizing and he's violent. And this isn't being addressed in any real way. This is massive failures in our society on multiple levels. Right. And I think that the government, we have a government of the people, supposedly. And I would like to think that our government is able to uphold ideals better than humans could. I think that we can allow our government to subscribe to ideals in a way that even as a human being, I cannot. I believe I want everything terrible for Joshua. I want everything terrible for Stephen. Yeah. Stephen paints himself as like, I was just going to go in there and rob. Yeah. But then he came back, felt betrayed that the police had been called on him because they could see the police. Yeah. Strangled her and then raped Jennifer. That's fucking sick. It's fucking sick and you don't come back from that. Yeah. And everything that Joshua's done, there's so much we don't know that Joshua, Yeah. There's so much we don't know. I think it's sad that he didn't get adequate help. We don't know that adequate help would really have made him a functioning member of society. I do, however, believe that if the state, and I know that the state was under a tremendous amount of pressure from just the community for the death penalty. I get that. However, if the state had said, okay, they're both saying that they're going to say that they're guilty, we can lock them up and throw away the key. They can sit in that cell for 23 whatever hours a day. They can eat. They can have dreams that their children are burning. We can give them like nothing. Like, I think that they're obviously never going to be redeemable.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have dragged everything out for Dr. Petit, and I think he has every right to ask for what he wants. I do. I think that it wouldn't have traumatized the jurors. I think that it wouldn't have put the family through shit. I think that separately from what Joshua and Stephen have done, the police need to answer for their part of why this family, there was no intervention.
Yeah.
Why was there no intervention? That is a separate thing that I think needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But I genuinely believe that I want these men to suffer with the knowledge of what they've done for the rest of their lives. I believe that Stephen suffers with the knowledge of what he does. I don't believe that Joshua does. I don't think that he does.
Yeah.
I think he's proud of himself.
I agree.
I think he's pleased with himself. Yeah. I think making sure that he has no access to ever hurt anyone in that way again and never be seen by anyone again, I think that is a good punishment.
Yeah. Being
lonely, him being vulnerable and at the mercy of the justice system for the rest of his life. That's what I think it would be better. I completely understand the thought that why do we give a shit about what their comfort is or what the dignity of whatever is for these prisoners who have done these horrific things. And mostly I agree with that thought process, but I think that our justice system needs to have higher ideals than people and have higher standards than people.
Yeah.
So while I understand the emotion behind it, I think that needs to be taken into account. I don't think that in the end, fighting so hard for the then helped. So I would say that while I wish we could torture those men, I don't think that our society should be implementing torture beyond justice, which I think doesn't have to be the death penalty. And maybe if the death penalty, maybe I would feel differently if you could see, that's the whole thing. Maybe if you had access to it without having to re-traumatize everyone, but without those steps of due process, it's a slippery slope that is fallible. So I'm not comfortable with it. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. You don't think your opinion would change if it was your family?
No, I think it makes sense that if it's your family, my opinion would be different.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think 100% that if somebody did something like that, I would want to kill them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no question to me about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that our justice system can look at it that way.
Okay.
In a civilized society. Would I want to kill them? Would I maybe try to kill them? But not within our justice system.
But do you also wonder or think about the fact that when they're in jail, and this could be while they're awaiting the death penalty and or just with life prison sentence, that even though they're in a prison cell for 23 hours a day, that cell has a television, and that cell has arts and crafts, and that cell, you still get food. He still gets macaroni and cheese or a bologna sandwich or Doritos chips or a Pepsi or conveniences, and he gets to be let out for an hour a day, which he could go do ceramics, he could go lift weights, he could go outside, and he is allowed those privileges. Do you think about the fact that that's not really a penalty, that he still gets those privileges and he's not really being punished because, like you said, Joshua is not thinking he did anything wrong or taking responsibility. He's proud of what he's done. And Stephen, even though maybe he says has depression and has those nightmares, he still gets those things. He still gets the television. Sure. He still gets to watch his favorite show. He still gets to have ice cream, fudge sundae. He still gets to have those things. How is that suffering? Because he doesn't get to go to Walmart? Because he doesn't get to go to a movie? I don't
think that should be... I don't think arts and crafts, I don't think television, I don't think an exciting diet is something that they should have access to.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I also I'm not arguing for that.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not arguing for their social time. I'm not arguing for them to have entertainment like books and television.
Yeah.
Certainly not for that. Give them a bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
Give them the nutrition that they need to live.
Yeah.
Like, don't give them scurvy.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we owe them any sort of anything other than solitude.
Yeah.
I think that is in itself kind of its own form of torture. But I wish there was some line of saying, which you would think would be life in prison without the chance of parole. Mm-hmm. We don't think that you're redeemable, right? That's what that means.
Yeah.
So then why are we giving them any sort of access into something that would give them any joy or comfort? Right. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
I think that I don't want to cross over into physical cruelty. And let's also say DNR situation, like we're not going to step in if you have cancer.
Yeah.
We are not stepping in with pain meds.
Yeah.
For anything.
Yeah.
Like that kind of shit. Like there's where my gray area, sure. Like I will get a little bit darker. But yeah, so no, I'm not for having them be set up in like a resort.
Yeah.
Jen Shaw prison style.
Yeah.
I don't want that for them.
Yeah.
But I do think that I just don't want to cross into participating in government.
So if you think maybe the government, if it has too much power, it would abuse it? Is that maybe where you think too? With the death penalty?
Well, I think it's balance. I think in general with our government, the ideals that we uphold, that we try to subscribe ourselves to, you hope are bigger than a single person.
Yeah.
And you hope that truth and justice and fairness win out. And I think that because of the fact that we are going to make mistakes, and because of the fact that there will be people who are innocent who are put in prison, I think that we need to keep that in mind. I also think that the government doesn't have to murder someone to keep everyone else safe from them. Not that we're working towards rehabilitation for these men, but I think that it's also, I think it's important to bear witness to the victims and what they went through. I don't necessarily think that not allowing these men life in prison versus the death penalty, I think that they would have saved their communities a lot of heartbreak and trauma added on to this already horrific moment is what I think.
Okay.
And I think that we're destined to repeat that.
Okay.
Is what I think.
Okay.
But again, I hate those men. I think they're monsters.
Yeah.
I think they're irredeemable.
Yeah.
And I completely understand and genuinely support, especially for Dr. Petit, the inclination that you want them dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at the end of it, which I'm very surprised by because I have been pro-death penalty until I sat down and thought about this documentary for a while.
Is that what Matt thinks too? You said in the beginning he changed his idea.
He's pro death penalty, but he does see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I don't think he agrees with me.
Yeah.
But I think he sees what I'm saying.
Gotcha. I see. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's disingenuous for me to say I'm wishy-washy. Unless it's my family, then I want to be able to kill them.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah.
So I don't think that's fair for anyone, as much as like our feelings and our hurt.
Yeah.
And our sense of justice might feel that way.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm just, that's how I feel at the end of it.
Yeah. I get you. I get you.
But you're pro or against?
Oh no, I'm pro death penalty. It did not change my mind watching this show. Honestly, with what I've seen and what I do, the horrific details will come out regardless, just like with this case in Idaho that we just spoke about, where he agreed and they accepted his offer to plead guilty, gave him life without parole and not the death penalty, and to save, like you said, everybody the horrific details and the family the horrific details. In this case, the family already knows the details. And in this case, just recently, literally every single day, more and more horrific details come out in the press. And so now we're all still traumatized. We're all being re-traumatized by it. It will not go away. I don't think it's going to stop. So in my mind, it's going to happen, meaning you're finding out the details regardless, if you have trial or you don't. And yes, I want to save the jury of having to listen to that and not putting them through that. However, typically the jury is you and I, everybody in the community. We're still listening to it. I'm still hearing the horrific details coming out every single day. And literally, unless I was physically impaired and deaf and could not hear, blind, could not see, I'm going to see it, hear it, read it, watch it. It's going to pass by me somehow, especially with social media and the internet right now. But I also tend to think that if we had the death penalty implemented and executed quickly, often, maybe that would be like, oh shit, you're in Idaho. You don't fuck off in Idaho because Idaho will kill you. Like a lot of people think about that for different types of states because that state executes death penalty inmates quickly, over and over, all the time. Like I think Texas maybe. And so people in Texas know what's up. Obviously, it doesn't deter them from having horrible criminals. But I'm thinking in my mind somehow, some way, they would still have that thought of, fuck, I'm not going to Idaho because that's what they do in Idaho. Because if they did and executed that death penalty over and over and swiftly, maybe people would pick up on it and be like, yeah, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be in that state. Which is fine. Don't come here. I don't want you here. We will kill you. That is, and plus I'm a little jaded from what I do in my job. I see these manipulators. I see these deceivers. I see these liars over and over and over again. And nothing is done. Nothing happens to them. Just like you said, they saw the judicial system not doing anything to them. So they are smart enough to pick up on that. No, I'm behind it. I've been behind it. Like I said to you, and I offered that idea, what about if they had TV and they had a hot fudge sundae and they had arts and crafts? Does that make, that's what I believe is this person, this case, he gets all of those things now for the rest of his life. He is proud of what he did to those 4 students. And he will most likely go on a talk show or do some sort of news media or do a podcast or something like that and boast about what he's done because people are more interested in these murderers and make him a celebrity. And now he's alive and now he's able to talk about it for the rest of his life. The rest of his life, he can boast about it. He can write about it. He can publish a book about it. And he knows people want that. And that makes him fill up with pride and be happier. And he still gets to go home and watch Golden Girls in his cell or whatever the fuck he wants to watch and get that hot fudge sundae at the end of the day and still go out and do ceramics. He gets to have those things because our government has not decided to not take those things away from them. because we're still worried about their situation as a human being living. I am not saying that they need to be waterboarded. I'm not saying that they need to have their fingernails torn off one by one. I'm not saying to go in and torture these people. But I'm saying is, like you said, take away the TV. They don't get to have these fun, nutritious meals. They don't get to have arts and crafts, but they do. The problem is they do. That is the fact of our penal system. And it bothers me. That bothers me.
I think that's incredibly valid. I think that there are so many steps along the way that we have multiple systems that are failing. Yeah. And I think putting the onus on any one part of it is pointless.
Correct.
Because there's so much, it's throughout the entire process.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think that there are people that are working to right this. I think in the process of trying to fix things, I think we've overcorrected in a lot of directions.
Of course.
And I think it's just at this point, let's be honest, right now I'm just holding on.
Yeah, I know.
For like any sort of semblance of normalcy, which I think we just don't have right now. And we're just holding our breath for the next thing that's going to happen the next hour. I hope that I hope we are able to find a point where we can launch back off from a point of wanting justice and truth and balance and fairness in our society in a way that the checks and balances aren't working right now.
Correct. I agree. And
unfortunately, it's from the top all the way down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you don't, all of the little things, all of the little pearls, right? All of the little letting him back out like nothing happened. And then it just snowballs. Into these things. We're not catching things. But then we're overcorrecting in other areas. So.
Right. I agree, ma'am. It's very heavy.
I don't know who's done it right. Has anyone done it right yet? Is there any country that's figured it out and done it right yet?
I don't think so. Because again, what I think is the country you think is doing it right, they go left somewhere. Like they are literally torturing people in these prisons, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's not what I'm saying, is to put these people in a room with 100 other people and not give them a bed and not give them a place to go to the bathroom. And like some of these countries are doing. That's not what I'm saying. And like I said, that's what I think of is when you said, is any country doing it right? Maybe. But then you say, oh my God, they do that. I don't want that. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. The government versus the fallibility of humans.
Yep. Yes.
All of the governments are humans.
Yes.
So we'd like to ascribe to a higher ideal. And right now, we're just sloshing around in the mud.
Yep.
And we haven't we're not as far as we think we are.
Correct. We're going backwards. So.
But I think that in this case, they did what they had to do. The other side of this, because they are the perfect candidates for the death penalty, in my opinion, right? Like, if there's going to be a death penalty, put them first.
Yeah.
Like, done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The community wasn't going to let this go. Oh, they just, right? Because look what's happening in Idaho.
Right. Correct.
With what's his name?
Yeah. Agree.
This is a horrible situation and no one is going to be happy with how it's dealt with because there's no outcome of this that feels good.
Correct.
There's no outcome of this that everyone goes, oh, I feel better now. Because you don't feel better.
No.
That these girls were lit on fire.
No.
That little girl was raped. That mother was strangled to death. And that man was beaten. And that their house was burned down.
Yeah.
Like, there's no situation where in the end you go, closure.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
No, exactly.
It doesn't exist.
I agree.
So.
I agree.
All right. Well, something to think about.
Yeah.
Something to talk about with your loved ones. And then next week we'll have another one and also Salt Lake.
Lake.
So we'll have like a nice little cleanser.
Yeah.
Palate cleanser on
that. I think so.
Ugh. I love you. Thank you for your insights.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you know a lot about these things and it's important. stuff that I think people
I think everybody should
don't necessarily have that perspective.
Yeah, if you talk about it, that's the whole point. People need to talk about it with each other and get the discussion going. So, yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.